Go on, do it.
I mean, is it not? Are you not into that sort of thing?
I don't know if my partner will appreciate that on this podcast.
Well, it's a good thing I missed it and only hit the record button after it was already said.
So we'll just have to imply...
Everyone will always just be wondering what got said.
What kind of sadistic stuff?
Well, I mean, it is the Oddcast, so they know it's going to be strange.
Well, it is going to be a really heavy episode.
You're in green.
I am in green. Is that a problem?
No, it's not a problem. I don't think I've ever seen you in green before.
Are you green with envy?
I'm sorry, my brain's still waking up. We're starting earlier than normal today. I got out of bed before 5 o'clock this morning just to drive down here and sit in this room with you.
Thank you.
Talk to you.
I do appreciate it. Hang on, we need these so I can... Can we hear ourselves? No. There we go.
Yes, I can hear me.
Excellent. Yes, I have to go freaking house hunting because, yeah, awesome. Life as a renter, hey?
Yeah, look, it's been a little while for me. I was a renter until I got married. That was now 11 years ago, so it's been a little while for me. But I don't remember it fondly, no.
No, now you're going to go do the house inspections that are at God stupid times.
Yes, and I'm led to believe it is a lot more difficult now than it was 10, 11 years ago.
It is. We can talk about the housing crisis. But before we do that, because it's going to be a heavy show.
It is, isn't it? This is, sorry everybody, there's just some really awful stuff happening in the world.
I thought we could start the podcast with some right-wing extremism.
Oh.
So we keep talking about sourdough.
Oh my.
So now you have your very own Carl's J. Soda sourdough.
Carl's J. Soda sourdough. Wow. And that looks fantastic.
It smells fantastic.
Yeah. I have eaten your sourdough before, though.
Why does that sound weird?
You know what I've never had? I've never had your home churned butter.
Yeah, this is my home churned butter as well.
Yeah, so that's new. That's new.
Dog hair is complimentary with every serving.
So do I have to do this on the show?
I'll do it.
No, I'm not asking you to do it. I'm just saying is this?
I baked it. I've churned it, and now I have to bloody serve it.
No.
It's fine.
Is that what we're doing?
Well, yeah.
Well, that is wow.
Yeah.
Wow. You could defend your house with this.
This is bread as it should be.
Crack someone's head out.
Put it on the chopping board. Let people see.
Let people see the magnificence.
What we're doing.
The magnificence.
Hang, I'm gonna need.
Yeah,
to.
get the microphone out of your face. Well, while you're doing that, should we do good news?
Do you want to do word of the day?
Oh, actually, you know what? That's more important.
That is more important. Give me something I can pronounce, please.
Yeah, and I think you're winning at the moment. I think you.
No, none of us used syzygy last week, so we both failed.
All right. What we have, palindrome, we know that. Palimpsest.
Oh, I said give me something I can pronounce. How much bread do you want? Do you want that?
Well, yeah, that's good. Thank you. Yes.
Excellent.
Yes. I mean, we're just going to be chewing into the
Maybe we should not be rude
episode.
and we'll share this bit.
I think let's do that because they say, did you bring enough for everybody? Well, we get thousands upon thousands of downloads now. So did you make enough for all of our viewers?
I'm not Jesus. I can't feed everyone.
Okay, so
you're wielding a knife on the podcast again.
Here's a word. I don't know if you would have heard of this before. It's a pretty obscure word. I'd be surprised if you'd heard of this. Pandemic.
I'm going to go into a PTSD shock in a minute.
All right, I need a different page because there's too many familiar words on there. All right. Ignominious, is that something that you're familiar with? Are you familiar with that one?
I am not.
Okay. I do use this from time to time, so it kind of gives me an unfair advantage. But it's marked by failure or humiliation in public. After his ignominious defeat in the election, Frank never ran for Congress again.
Well, that sounds very on brand for what we're talking about.
Well, there's a lot of yes, it's going to be a relatively useful word. So ignominious.
Ignominious.
Yes, ignominious is the word of the day. And
how does one spell ignominious?
I've closed the book already. IGNOMINOUS or something. Ignominious.
Okay.
Yep.
Excellent. Well, sourdough can go over here.
Wonderful. Well, everybody, if you make a big enough donation to the Oddcast, Carly will bake you a loaf of bread.
I'll send you a loaf of bread.
Yeah.
I've made maybe 6 loaves in the last couple of days, and I've got to make some more this afternoon because G's mum's on her way home, so I'm sending her home with a fruit loaf.
Her home with some. She's going to be over the weight limit if you send her home with some of that in a carry-on. You can't this. That's serious. That's a 2-kilogram loaf.
Yeah, do you know how easy it is? It's not easy. I shouldn't say it's easy. It's time consuming. It's relatively simple. It's just time consuming.
Well, now I'm going to be stuck here chewing all episode, and it's your fault.
Oh, how long is it going to take you to eat that little... Is it good? Hang on, I need to...
Of course it's good. Far out.
Is that annoying?
Give everybody the audio experience. This is fantastic. The butter's lovely. So you reckon making butter is like the easiest thing? You just get cream.
It's so easy. It's stupid.
Are you doing it by hand or are you using a machine to whip it?
Okay. I bought the Aldi butter churner.
You got to whip it good.
Yeah. I bought the Aldi butter churner just for fun and gave myself RSI. And then G's like, why don't you use the very expensive KitchenAid that I bought you? I was like, you've made a good point. So we put it in there. And to be fair, G actually whipped it. Well, he supervised. The KitchenAid whipped it.
Yeah.
And then you just wait for it to separate. And once it separates, you pull it out, put it in ice cold water and like squeeze out all the buttermilk, put a bit of salt or whatever you want in it, and Bob's your uncle.
There you go.
Butter. But I did the math. So I bought 1.5 litres of cream, and that made us just under 800 grams of butter. It's a lot. And we are eating it because we use butter as our flavour when we cook. We don't use like no seed oils in this household. So,
All right.
yeah. So, good news, please. I'm setting up and I'm not being rude because people say, Carly, you should be paying attention. I'm not being rude. I'm setting up our little overlay as we do this. So, please tell me your good news.
So, good news is that I have been deemed worthy by YouTube of a silver play button.
I knew he was going to bring it up again.
So it's not, but see, the reason is because it's not a given. Just because you hit 100,000, it's not a given that they give you one.
What do you mean?
Well, they do checks to look at the quality of your page.
Oh.
And so
they can turn around and go, actually, no.
yeah, basically, like they're not going to take the subscribers off you, but they're not going to give you a button.
Okay.
If they think that your content is of low quality or if it's derivative, you're not being original enough, bots, AI, or just community standards violations, which I was like, I've had a few of those over the years.
Yeah.
I don't know how much they're going to hold those against me. So it wasn't a given that they were going to give me one. And I got an email this morning, or I got a message on YouTube this morning saying you can have one. So I went through the process.
That's nice.
Fully expecting to have to pull out my credit card and pay some money at the end because I was told
you
you
said
have to pay for them,
costs
right?
money, yes.
Turns out you don't pay for the first one.
Oh.
If you want to get duplicates to give, like if it's a channel with multiple people or you want to give some to your editing team or whatever, one to put in the office, then you pay for the second one onwards. But the first one is covered by YouTube.
So does that mean when you get the million, you get that for free too?
I believe each award that you get, the first copy of that award, the first physical award is free. And then if you want more, that's when you pay.
That is very nice.
They didn't charge me for shipping. They charged me absolutely nothing. And supposedly I'm meant to have it within about 2 weeks.
To be fair, YouTube makes a lot of money off us. So I feel like, I'm going to see if this works.
What?
There we go. So now.
So the size is an issue there. It's not quite in the corners.
I know.
But
Relax.
Well, sorry.
I'm working on it.
Am I not allowed to use my eyes?
I'm trying to not eat.
This is a very strange feeling.
There we go.
Everything just kind of moving around. Okay, that looks good.
I know how to do graphics now.
Okay.
Excuse me as I have
we're just eating and
I'm trying so hard not to be rude, but here I am. There you go.
All right. Well, this is riveting, especially for our audio podcast listeners. This is riveting as they.
Oh yeah, it stays up. That's what I wanted.
Yep. Nice. So that's what's called a downstream graphic. It's downstream of the editing. The editing doesn't affect it. Upstream graphics are dependent on your editing inputs and so forth. And there's
the more I can do as we go through the podcast, the easier my life is.
There you go. Well, there you go. You now know how to do downstream graphics on the Roadcaster video.
I also know that I could put your name and my name there, but I feel like if you don't know who we are, why would you be watching this?
Well, yeah, there is that. We've had some actually very complimentary people recently.
Have we?
Yeah. I had an email earlier. I get a few of these actually. It's remarkable how often I get people saying, yeah, you know what, when you teamed up with that Carly chick, I wasn't sure if you knew what, I didn't know if you knew what you were doing, But now I realise, she's all right. We talked about this before. You've grown on me. It's like you're black mold.
I am like a fungus.
That is a regular feature of my inbox. That is a regular thing. But how about you give us the good news? This doesn't have to be your good news. This is the podcast's good news. We had a record number of downloads on last week's episode. It must be, I'm doing this to you right when you got a mouthful of food. Must be because you cried. Must be because somehow the world just knew that if they could tolerate 2.5 hours of sheer abject boredom of listening to us, that eventually they would get to see you cry.
I hate crying. I'm not a crier. I know I've gone viral for crying twice, but I'm not. This is so bad. Sorry. I can't chew it quickly.
I would say sorry to put you on the spot, but really I'm actually quite enjoying just the awkwardness.
Oh, yeah, it's good.
I mean,
That's good sourdough.
I'm just thinking about the faces I'm going to have available to me for thumbnails during this week.
Put that one up. I've never seen so many ugly photos of me online.
Okay, but one of the things that I learned really quickly when I started doing videos and doing my own thumbnails...
Have an ugly woman in your thumbnail?
No, was speaking is just the process of perpetually pulling funny faces.
Well...
Just speaking is a series of weird, odd facial expressions, one after the other. That's what it is.
I don't feel like you're as animated as me. I don't know why I'm so animated. I'm just expressive.
I have to wait for the moments when you are, because otherwise the thumbnail's just your face going... Right? This is why you get criticised for like having Botox but also being overexpressive.
Yeah.
It's like because often when you're talking, you're really deadpan. And then something will happen. I'll say something or whatever, and you'll be like, ah.
So I have a good resting bitch face.
Your resting bitch face, well, it's not very bitchy. It's just, it's too neutral.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. I'm just sitting there going, ugh.
You just, the boredom that you feel when I talk comes out on your face.
Well, I think that's why when I cry, it hits a bit differently, because I'm not a good emotions person.
You're not in the business of emoting the way that other people on the internet that we could name but we won't are.
I don't like emoting either. And my friends know I am dead inside. My heart is cold. So when there is a tear, it's because it's reached fever pitch.
It takes a lot of work. You've got to really work your way up to it.
It does take a lot to make me cry.
Like once a year you can cash in the cry, the crying.
And then I feel shit after crying. I'm like, I just cried. Ew. Vulnerability. Right.
So
anyway, so the good news.
Okay.
We hit our record number of 24-hour views. So obviously with YouTube, when we put the podcast up, the quicker people click on it, the more YouTube realizes that it's a good video and it puts it out there. And I was looking at our analytics, and a lot of our YouTube views now are coming from new discoveries. So we're on the Discover page for people. So it's not just our subscribers who we love and adore, but there's a lot of people finding us because our subscribers are like, yeah, we can't wait for Wednesday. They download it, and then the algorithm goes, hey, this is great. So we got, in 24 hours on our podcast, it hit 3,500.
So to be clear, that's not YouTube. That is downloads.
No, that's YouTube. That was our YouTube views.
Okay, that is the YouTube views. Wow.
Yeah,
okay.
so we got 3.5 in 24 hours, which is double what we normally get.
Yeah.
And then on Spotify, it hit about the same. So it was about 3,000 downloads within 24 hours. So we got
6,000.
6,000 views very quickly. So, yeah.
Nice. Looks like we are getting some momentum.
Which means I have to be more careful about what I say. I'm like, oh, yeah, okay, the more people are listening. Oh, shit.
So
I got to be careful.
I had 2 complaints this week.
I didn't swear. I counted. I swear 3 times.
Well, there was a complaint about language. And it came up actually after one of my videos where I talked about how the Victorian wage ombudsman, whatever it is taking a butcher to court because he had the temerity to take an autistic kid under his wing, give him some work, get his life back on track with the help and support of his mum, who also works at the same butcher. Couldn't have done it better, like honestly. And my response and my advice to everyone was to begin to get really comfortable with the phrase, go fuck yourself.
Yes.
Because that is honestly the only appropriate response to the Victorian government in a situation like this.
Yes.
Well, these particular viewers took exception to the expression and they said, look, American commentators very rarely swear, and when they do, they beep it out. To which my reply was, I'm an Australian commentator. But also, when it comes to swearing, I'm not opposed to swearing.
And other video sources without your overlay disappearing.
I don't know what that
Carly,
is.
Let's head back into Road Central.
I don't know what that is.
If you're looking to incorporate a PNG into one of your scenes,
video
you can do this without
Oh,
using
I know
the
how to
overlay.
stop it. There we go.
Just pulled the plug. She literally had to pull the plug on the life support of her Apple Mac. And now it's coming out of the speakers.
I don't know where it is. Which window
And why
is
was it sitting there not playing for the first 14 minutes and then just decided to kick in?
Comedic timing, guys. Comedic timing. Sorry, you were telling us a very important story. I'm good. Everyone's good.
So I don't have an issue with swearing. And this is a lot of people find this very controversial because I am a Christian and I do take what I say very seriously. I'm very careful with my words, and I think that comes through in my work.
Yes.
I do not consider swear words to be prohibited by Scripture. Scripture says do not swear. It does not mean swearing in the sense that we mean it. It means swearing an oath. That's very clear when you look at those scriptures.
Right.
And for me, if a word has a well understood meaning, if it can be defined, it is now a word. Now, some words are vulgar, but then some topics are vulgar, and they deserve vulgar and strong language in order to convey the meaning that I'm trying to convey.
I think when it comes to swearing, I see people make this comment often, it's a sign of a lack of vocabulary. Actually, it's a sign of intelligence. It is a well-researched topic. Feel free to go and Google that yourself. But swearing is actually a sign of intelligence in the sense that when you're emphatic, you need those extra words to put extra sauce on what you're saying. Yeah. And the word, I'm going to swear, clutch your pearls, fuck, has so many meanings.
Depending
it is
on context.
One of the most diverse words in the English language. But when it comes to swearing, it's 2025. Like, there are very few words that should be off limits. I don't like any kind of restrictions on how I express myself. I don't like that we're not allowed to say the word retard. I don't like that we're not allowed to say the word women. As soon as you start limiting the way people express themselves, that is a form of censorship in itself. So if you don't like people swearing, you don't have to like it, but you don't have the right to tell someone they can't do it.
Now, I'm gonna disagree with you slightly.
Okay.
I'm not a fan of the current year argument. It's 2025. That implies that there is some destination, that there is some agreed objective that we're moving towards, and we can measure our progress in years. And you can no longer complain about the thing that you complained about last year because it's now this year. I don't think that holds up to any kind of.
I think I'm more so meaning it in the sense of it's not the 1950s.
Well, sure, and pearl clutches these days. The new bitter clingers are actually the wokies who are getting left behind, and they're never going to be able to abandon wokeism. They're going to view 2022, 23 as kind of the peak of civilization, and they'll cling to that for the rest of their days. But when it comes to the use of language is a dynamic thing. It changes over time. Words like crap are considered in many good Christian families to be swear words. Oh no, you don't say crap. Well,
is crap a swear word?
Well, in the conservative end of Christian families, oh no, you don't say crap.
Oh my goodness.
Well, actually, was it Francis Crapper? I can't think of his name. Was the guy who invented the flushing toilet. And so, if you were in high society in England and you had a crapper installed, that was a sign of your affluence and your keeping up with the times.
Right.
That's where the word is derived from. It was literally a brand name word named after the inventor of toilets that had their own cistern and then would flush on command, the crapper. And somehow that morphed into a swear word in certain conservative sort of circles. And so I reject this idea that just because a word may be regarded as vulgar, it can never be used. A lot of the topics we talk about are vulgar. And when I'm talking, I do not lightly introduce the phrase "go fuck yourself" into a video. I do not do that lightly. I do that because there is no other 3-word sentence that can convey that meaning.
Yeah, okay.
In that way. Now, like you said, the word "fuck" is a very, very diverse word. It gets used in lots of different contexts, and it changes its meaning according to the context. But that phrase, the meaning of the word is very clear.
I just had to Google where the word "fuck" came from.
Oh.
So I don't know, I've never looked into this before, but there's many origins. And this sassy, controversial, comforting, profane, and sacred 4-letter word is finally getting the spotlight it deserves. Is it? Where does it come from and why is it so popular? It came from the word fornication under consent of the king. So FUCK is an acronym. Mm-hmm. It is from the old continent. There you go.
Okay. Well, there you go. Thank you for that. I'm not even going to sing the Tangent Time song on that because that just didn't feel worth it.
Why am I croaky?
I have a stuffy nose. You have a croaky throat.
Yeah, I sound croaky. I don't feel croaky.
I'm resisting coughing. I coughed so much last week and I can feel it in my body again.
I have good news.
What's your good news?
You're always sick, dude. Every time you hear you're sick.
Every time I rock up in Melbourne, it just
You got strepsils
makes
again.
me sick to my
Are they
core.
sponsoring us?
No, not yet, but I'm working on it.
We're sponsored by my sourdough.
What's your good news?
So I sent out a very pretty sponsorship pack to get sponsors for my exhibition.
Oh, not for me.
Not for you.
Not for like half-price strepsils.
No.
Like something useful.
For me.
Oh, wow.
Because I have a life outside of this podcast.
You what?
I know. And I got 3 sponsors so far, which is wonderful.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So I'm going to show you actually because I'm very proud of this little document.
Because you were saying, for those that missed the episode, I think it was 2 weeks ago, you have to put on an exhibition. It's a part of your masters.
Yes.
And yes, if you're playing the drinking game, get started now. It's going to be.
They're all
It's
dead.
going to be a big one. They've all had liver failure already.
They're all dead.
So for those that don't know, there is a drinking game amongst the Oddies, which is our fans of the Oddcast, that you have to drink every time someone mentions Carly's masters. Every time I bring up Venezuela. There's a couple of others. We'll see if we remember them as we go along as well. But I don't recommend playing. It is a fast track to liver poisoning. But you've said that getting the gallery, preparing all the artworks, printing and displaying, then a bit of other sort of zhuzh around the event, you're looking at sort of 20 grand.
25.
Ooh.
And the issue with this, right? So for those who already know this, I am sorry for repeating myself, but for those who are new, there's no point doing this master's degree unless you use it as a launch pad.
Yeah, sure.
And I've said this before, but just so it's on the record, the only reason I went into it is because I feel like I get cut out of the art industry at large because you don't have it, right? It's a prerequisite. You need to be able to flex.
It's like a union membership if you want to be an actor. It's like officially you don't have to have one, but if you don't have one, you ain't getting the gig.
You're taken a little bit more seriously. But not only that, like it also does teach you good practice, which is great. And you research a topic and get known for that topic, whatever.
Sure.
But I also have a lot of resentment for how the left have co-opted higher education.
Yeah.
And I am on the record as saying that I like higher education, but I don't think everyone should be in it. And I mean that wholeheartedly. Not saying that if you have higher education, you're better or smarter. I'm just saying that it's not for everyone.
Yeah.
Just like I'm not meant to be a plumber. Plumbers make a shit ton of money, right? And rightfully so. But, someone who wants to go off and be a plumber in year 10 shouldn't be forced to do year 12 and then go to do a 4-year degree.
Yeah.
If they want to, great. Anyway, so I'm a big believer in that, the people who are more centrist, right-leaning should be going into higher education if you feel like it's something you want to pursue, because that's how you get it back.
Yeah.
And I don't like that, there's so many bits of wokeism that are there, and I have to sit there every time someone gets up and participates in that pantomime. And I try and be respectful, but at the same time I sit there and go, I think I told you, I went back to do a psychology degree and I dropped out because the first 45 minutes of my lecture was someone introducing their pronouns. Thank you. Welcome to country. And basically just housekeeping around this woke stuff. And this is 2021. So peak woke.
The thing is, you say, you try to be respectful. It is now a state-sponsored religion. All of that has become a state-sponsored religion, and it has no respect whatsoever for anything other than itself. It will never show any respect to you and your differences.
And what I resent about it is it's actually a horrible limiting factor on research and people going and furthering their education, because it's an extra restriction.
Yep.
It's an extra tick box.
Yep.
So even this afternoon, I've got my first lecture about how to write my exegesis. And there's this whole bit at the front where you've got to do your ethics summary and, talk about all the woke stuff, basically. Thank you to these people, acknowledging country, and I'm sitting there going, okay, look, I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but this is a waste of everyone's time.
Correct.
Let's just get to the meat and bones. But that's what academia is now. It's a virtue signal of look how good a person I am.
This is the modern day version of pomp and ceremony.
It is.
We look back at 500 years ago and what would go on in a king's court, and we laugh at it, we mock it. Oh, how unnecessary, how ridiculous, how over the top. No, this is exactly the same thing in its modern expression.
It is that, because some people who have come in to lecture are worse than others. And a good 15, 20, maybe 30 minutes of it is that crap. And no disrespect, but I have a limited attention span like most of us. And if you're taking up the first 15, 30 minutes of a lecture with that nonsense,
just let me have a nap.
I'm already checking out.
Yeah.
I like I say, get into the meat and bones. But anyway.
Yeah, anyway. So
back to my good news.
Yes.
So This is my little sponsorship pack. Oh, I made it full screen so you can see it, but that's probably a bit big. Anyway.
Make it full screen.
So this is the name of my exhibition.
I want to know who her hairdresser is.
Right? Right? I say the same thing. I want my hair to look like that. It does not look like that. God, I'm so croaky. I'm so sorry, guys. This is not intentional. But yeah, so I sent this out because like all entrepreneurs and commercially minded people, I was like, I'm not going to go into debt and do something stupid.
Yeah.
But as I said, the reason I'm doing this exhibition to the extent that I am is like, if you're going to do it properly.
Sure.
Like this might be my first and only exhibition. So let's go have some fun.
Yep.
So I sent this out. It's got a bit of my artwork in there. It tells a little bit about the story, makes it look pretty. That's me. About the project and then where the space is and then, save the date. And then I go in there about my reach.
Yep.
Like I get 1.1 million views on my Instagram now, which is insane.
A month.
Yeah. It's insane.
Yep.
I'm very grateful for that.
Yep.
To give my stats in there. And then, I asked for a sponsor. I haven't got a platinum yet. So if anyone wants to be my platinum sponsor.
Yep.
And then these are the cards that I'm making. And so I've got 2 silver sponsors.
Okay.
And I have 2 in-kind sponsors, which is lovely.
Yeah, cool.
But we were going to talk about this. So that's my little proposal that I sent out.
So that's your good news is congratulations, you got some sponsors. Yes. Yeah, wonderful.
That is my good news.
Wonderful.
Because I can't do it without sponsors because it's very difficult. And sponsorship doesn't always have to be money. It can be in kind. It can be someone who can do something. And because I've been commercial my whole life, I have good relationships with suppliers.
Do you remember that TV ad where the kid is delivering pizza and it's his own house and it's his dad that answers the door and he hands over the pizza and the dad pays him and he goes, how about a tip? And he says, work hard and be good to your mum. Do you remember that ad or am I showing my ad? Okay, guys, you got to jump in the comments and help me out here. That was an iconic ad from my childhood.
Oh,
that was
Pizza Hut or something? Or?
It was probably Pizza Hut. Okay. I don't remember. But yeah, this young guy showed up to deliver pizza to his dad and mum's house.
No, never heard.
How about a tip? Work hard and be good to your mum.
Not a bad tip.
It's not a bad tip. Not a bad tip. So you're just saying in-kind sponsorship. Someone can give you a tip.
Yeah. Well, for example, one of the sponsors is a signwriting company who's going to do the shopfront signage.
And shout out to signwriting companies. They do a lot of that sort of in-kind stuff. They actually do.
Because when you think about it, it's like an extra 1,000 here, an extra 200 there, an extra 4,000 there, and you sort of get to a point you're like, whoa, this is adding up.
Yeah.
I've got a florist. Beautiful florist that I've worked with many times. What else have I got? I've got an accounting firm and a finance firm. So, yeah.
Yep.
But I will say this. I sent out 55 emails so far. That was my first hit. Of that, I think I got 6 responses.
That's a pretty good rate.
And I got, from those 6 responses, 3 sponsors.
Okay. That's actually a pretty good strike rate.
Bloody good. But do you want to hear something crazy? Because we're going to talk about this. They're all men that want to sponsor it.
The ones that have actually followed through and sponsored, they're all men.
Yeah.
Do you know what the split was off the top of your head of what you sent out?
Predominantly female.
Yeah, right. Yeah, wow.
Because I'm hitting up, it's about women. That concept is still real, women, and it went out about beauty standards. So I hit up the beauty industry.
Women are still real.
Women are real.
It's 2025, Carly. It's 2025. I need you to catch up.
I know.
It's the current year.
Women is a dirty word. But I am one.
Now, you there's so many ways. No, moving on. You've actually said to me before, you went looking for a mentor.
I did.
And you got no responses from any of the women. And you ended up with someone who's actually been quite helpful to you who was a man.
Yes.
Interesting.
Do you know what's really frustrating since we're here? Let's just go into this topic.
That women can't stand you? Yeah.
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 I have a real hard time with feminism. I appreciate the first wave of feminism.
Sure.
As I said on Monday night, I appreciate that I can vote. I appreciate that I can have a bank account and that, I can work. I appreciate all that. But this concept around men are evil, men are just out to oppress women, it's all about the patriarchy, I think is a fallacy. I don't believe in that. Of all the people in my career who have championed me and pushed me forward, yourself included, they're all men. I think you're a man. Pretty sure you're a man.
I'm not going to prove it. You're going to have to take my wife's word for it. Yeah, you're going to have to take my wife's word for that one. Yep.
You do have kids, so
I do have kids. Yep.
But yeah, all of them have been men, and I often find, and look, this is a generalization, and I'm not saying this is all women.
Sure.
But whenever I've reached out to collaborate with a woman or work with a woman, I find they are the most difficult or standoffish.
You've seen the divorce stats, right? Between same-sex marriages and
lesbians are like 80% or something.
So the failure rate for female-female marriages is astonishingly high. It's double the failure rate of heterosexual marriage.
Yeah, wow.
And then astonishingly, the male same-sex marriage divorce rate is actually considerably lower. So how likely you are to get divorced is directly proportional to the number of women in the relationship.
Yeah.
That is actually, that's actually a statistically true observation.
I noticed this because even like one of my supervisors at uni is a woman, and I've been talking about my topic, and I'm just gonna vent for a second. I do have some frustrations.
You've already used up your allocation of tears for this year.
No, I'm not crying.
Okay, you got to wait till 2026 if you're going to do it again.
This is spicy, Carl.
Okay, all right, good, yeah. All right.
I appreciate that higher education does cost a business who's running it a lot of money, and I appreciate that. But when you look at the cost of the degree and how little you get for it, I have questions. I'm very commercially minded. I'm like, okay, I'll just be honest with you guys. It's 45 grand. That's what it's cost me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, so what have I gotten for it? You know, I've gone to some lectures, I've had you talk to me, but where's the tangible thing, right? Because it's research-based and it's practice-led, so I'm doing a lot of that. And I know you guys will go off in the comments like, oh, you know, the business, blah, blah, blah. But, you know, when you think about it, I'm like, it's incredibly expensive for very little return apart from the piece of paper.
Correct.
And, of course, when I get that piece of paper, because I paid so much for it, I will be bragging about it. But my lecturer, for example, my research is so new to them that there's no one that can help me with it.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, we don't know anyone that's gone down this road before. We don't know anyone that's gone into this topic before. So we don't know how to recommend you someone. So I've been basically on my own, and they couldn't find a mentor. They found one mentor for me who was a woman who was so difficult to get onto a Zoom call and then impossible to get again.
Yeah, wow.
And look, when we did have the Zoom call, it was great. She was really helpful. But there's this fragility that's expected from a woman that's actually really insufferable. Like, oh, I've been really busy. I've been run down. Oh, this. Dude, don't volunteer for the position if you can't do it.
Do the work.
Yeah.
And this is something that's really being highlighted now because a lot of women are waking up to the fact that second and predominantly third and fourth wave feminism especially
I forget which phase we're in. Like, is it fourth wave?
We're in like post-reality wave. We're in fourth wave now, which is really the rejection of womanhood. That's actually what's happening now. But a lot of women are waking up to the fact that it started out with the promise or the claim women should have the right to work. And now we've ended up in a place where women have to work, even if they are in a relationship, even if they've got kids. It's like you don't have a choice anymore.
Yeah.
So it started out being about choice, and now you don't have a choice. You're locked in. You have to do it.
Yeah.
And this is largely being done to women by the feminist movement. And a lot more women are starting to sit there and go, oh, I actually don't like this.
Yeah.
And what happened was the ability or the value of a woman was measured in terms of her ability to be a man, to be more like a man, to do what a man does. It was done under the name of freedom. It was done under the name of choice. But the reality is there are very real and substantial differences between men and women in terms of our temperament on average, but also our physiology.
Yeah.
I did a video just last week about the gender pay gap. And so there's this whole big thing.
How
about
many people did you piss off with that?
All of them. I collected the whole set with that video. No, look, most people are actually really aware that this is a fallacy. But one of the things that isn't talked about enough, because it's not quite politically correct, but I talked about in this video, is the testosterone gap.
Yeah.
Like the testosterone gap explains an enormous amount.
Yeah.
When you look at it, testosterone is directly linked to competitiveness. A woman with more testosterone is going to be more competitive than a woman with less. But a low testosterone man has about 4 times more testosterone per gram of flesh in their body than a high testosterone woman.
Yeah.
It's not as though there's overlap between the two. Women tap out at about 2.4 nanomoles per liter, I think is how they measure it. Men start at about 10.
I'd be curious to see my testosterone levels, not to be silly, but like I am very competitive.
Yeah.
And I'm more, I don't know if this is nature versus nurture, but I grew up around my dad and my brother. I spent more time with them than I did my mum. And so I guess I think not more like a man, but I don't have as much tolerance for the frivolous silliness of women.
Sure.
And I'm not trying to be nasty to women.
Are you saying women are silly?
You know the silliness.
I'd agree with you,
No, there's a certain section of women that are just caught up with silly nonsense and gossip, and I've never, ever been in that group. I can't stand it. You know, and there's women who have done very successful podcasts like Call Her Daddy or Shameless. And that kind of woman and the stuff they talk about, I find just absolute utter nonsense to me.
Insufferable is the word that comes to mind.
I was going to say insufferable, but like, you know, everyone has their own, and obviously there's a market for it because they're very successful.
Yeah.
It's just I've never personally identified with that. And I was going to say, like, in my career, I've definitely worked with men and women at all sorts of levels, but the men have always been the ones to push me forward. And I think that comes from, and this is something I argue in my thesis, and this is why I was saying it, my supervisor at uni, she kept saying, Carly, dig deeper. Why? And she's like, it's the patriarchy. And I wanted to just shake her. I'm like, stop using that as a cop-out.
Yeah.
It's a cop-out.
And also, you're at uni doing research. Stop telling someone who's doing a postgraduate research degree what their conclusion ought to be.
So I think I've said this before. I was thinking about doing my PhD.
Right.
Now I'm definitely doing it.
Okay.
And the reason I'm doing it is because I really want to champion this voice for women.
Yep.
That women are actually our own worst enemies. In commerce, in business, in friendship groups, women sabotage and jeopardize good opportunities for other women. And it's a way of positioning themselves in a social hierarchy. That's a blanket statement, but I can back this up with plenty of research.
Yeah.
When it comes to workplace sabotage, it's women who do it. I'm not to say that men don't do shitty things. Men do other shitty things. When it comes to this, a lot of people go, oh, what about men? I'm ignoring men, cut off from the conversation in this particular thing. Because that's what always happens. Oh, but men. No, shut up. I'm not talking about men. I want to talk about women. Women will go out of their way to belittle another woman or to sabotage her or to spread gossip about her, to diminish her impact on a social group because she's insecure.
Yeah.
Where does that insecurity come from? Well, it can be from a lot of different things. But unless that woman gets to a point where she wants to grow and like undo all those insecurities, she will forever be in this cycle. And you see it in friendship groups.
Yeah.
And why the women have spectacular relationship breakups, not with men, but with their friendship groups, and why celebrities will go out and talk shit about another woman and whatever. That's it. It's the exact same concept, and it doesn't preclude anyone from it. It's in general. Yeah. It's a very basic way of doing it. And if you go right back to, back when we were tribal, that's how women did it back in the tribe. So it's actually a genetic thing. It's something that we inherit. And when people talk about, beauty standards, it's all about men, there's definitely a portion of men doing that.
Sure.
Men were in charge of advertising, men were in charge of all that. Cool, yeah. But that hasn't been the case for a very long time.
Yeah.
So why are we dealing with it worse today than we did back then?
And it's to be really, really politically incorrect. This is something that's been observed in cultures for a very long time, and people are going to scream patriarchy over this. But if you go back into early Jewish law, because we have that as a written record, we know what Jewish law was thousands of years before Christ. 4,000 years ago, we know what Jewish law actually was at that time. That's not the case for most legal systems. There are some exceptions. But in Jewish law, if a man gave an oath, swore a promise, he was bound by it. If a woman gave an oath, swore a promise, then the first time her husband, or if she wasn't married, her father heard it, he could overrule it and say no.
Right.
And that would stand. If he didn't overrule it, then the promise stood, right? He had one shot, right, to hear it for the first time and go, no, I don't. No, you're not doing that, or you're not making that promise, or whatever that may be. And cultures have recognized for a very long time that, and again, going to piss a lot of people off, sometimes women can be emotionally driven, and they can say things or do things or commit to things that maybe aren't the best idea. Yeah. When they're actually viewed in a bit more of a cold, hard light. And already in Jewish law 4,000 years ago, there was an escape valve there, right? Where literally a woman could make a promise and then she could go to her husband and say, I've said this thing, it was a really bad idea, please get me out of this. Yeah. Right? Men never had such a, if a man said something to you in the street, he was bound by it. Yeah, he was bound by it instantly. Yeah. And so culturally we've recognized this. I think, for a very long time. And it's only been for a relatively short window of time that we've tried to pretend that this phenomenon doesn't exist. And it's not bad that women are more emotional than men. That's actually an asset. Men often need that perspective, and we certainly need that softness in our lives. And it makes the world a better place. Children need that. They need someone who's more emotionally in tune. It's a wonderful asset in the world, but it comes with some downsides.
Yeah.
And it's only recently that we've tried to pretend that that wasn't the case.
Yeah. It's interesting because you made this comment to me, I think 2 podcasts ago, but you were talking about how the right were basically saying that if you're not in their good graces, you're basically BLM.
Yeah, you're all the way over the other side.
There's nothing in between.
Yep.
And I feel like that when it comes to feminism and this whole trad wife nonsense.
Yep.
You know, because I disagree with 4th wave or 3rd wave feminism, whatever we're up to, I'm a trad wife that wants us to be back in the 1950s where I don't get a voice. Well,
she says to the podcaster that she just served sourdough and homemade butter to.
Why can't I be both? Why can't I love cooking and providing for people? I enjoy it. I love putting on a feast for people, but also go and be the PhD student that runs a business. Yep. I know that I can't be everything because I don't have time, and I made a choice early on that I didn't want children because I don't have that maternal instinct. Whereas my friends who do, and I see it and I've known about it from forever, and I'm like, man, I don't have that. You know when people are like, oh, you'll change your mind? It's like, no, I've been like this since I was a kid.
Yeah.
And I know so many kids who couldn't wait to get married, couldn't wait to have kids, and they've been like that their whole life, and then they do it and it's everything they've ever wanted. And I was like, yeah. I just didn't have that.
I've also seen people who thought that they wanted that and then they did it and went, oh, hell no, this is not what I thought it was going to be. So I've seen it go both ways. And women who have been maternal all their life get married young, have a kid, and then they're suddenly like, whoa. So, yeah.
Well, that's why I think like a lot of women have issues with me because I don't fit in their box. Because on a lot of things, and I think I don't fit in any boxes politically either. Like I'm libertarian, but I blow conservative with some things, particularly around crime and punishment, and I blow a little bit more left-leaning with certain things. And I think that's most women because, you know, we do have a natural inclination to want to nurture. But then also, like I have cultivated a lot of knowledge and I've been in business a long time.
Yeah.
So this is the issue I have with feminism. I don't want to fall into your trap of like it's all blame all men and it's patriarchy.
Yeah. And one of the concerns that I have right now is that Australia is so that whole blame one group, pick a group and hang all of the world's problems on them, used to be a left thing. This was feminists would do that. It's the patriarchy. Marxists would do that. It's the capital class.
Yeah.
We would see this kind of, and then it crept in with wokeism. It's the oppressor. It's colonialism. It's the white man. But unfortunately, when people talk about the woke right, I don't necessarily agree with the term, but I understand the concept of what they're expressing. And we are watching it play out right now. And I'm going to, again, piss off some people. It's the immigrants.
Yeah.
Right. Everything's that. Or in the case of the actual, like the proper racists amongst them,
Yeah.
it's the Jews.
Yeah.
And you just go, well, guys, I'm sorry. That oversimplification of the world didn't work when feminists used it. It didn't work when black people used it. It didn't work when Marxists used it. And it doesn't work when you use it either.
And that's why I made the decision about 2 weeks ago. I'm going to do my PhD, probably not next year, or I don't know. I'll probably do it part-time. We'll see. Because just even, I feel like with my masters, I've scratched the surface of this.
Sure.
And a lot of the literature, because, you know, people go, oh, I've read a peer-reviewed study. I've read the research. As I've said before, a lot of it is funded by certain people with specific interests.
Yep. And the methodologies are so dodgy.
Yeah, they are. And I would like to get to a point, because I think this works for a couple of reasons. I'm just thinking about this as I'm talking to you. Maybe you can help me.
I could shoot down your dreams.
No, you can help me be my bounce board.
Your childhood and your dreams. Yep.
I feel like with a lot of PhD students and people who go off and do those research, who then people go, well, they're the experts. They are kind of stuffed if they don't have either, what do they call it, stipend, which is when you get a sponsorship from the uni.
Yeah, so tenure, I think.
Yeah, or they get a backing, right? Yeah. So, and of course, if someone's giving you money to do something, there's an incentive, which is why a lot of medical studies are done by big pharma or big sugar or the agriculture industry, and that's why we happen to have research that supports certain things, right? Yeah. When it comes to doing your research, it takes so much time, so you don't really have the opportunity to do a full-time job. So you need to make income. Whereas with me, I'm very commercial. So I'm like, well, I want to run my own focus groups. I want to do a massive research led thing that no one's paying me to do. I will have to get funding for it.
Sure.
But it won't be like, hey,
it won't be tied to an outcome.
Yeah, like Mecca's not going to hire me to do the beauty study. Do you know what I mean? I want to do it on my own accord. Like Dove, the beauty the beauty company, they do what they call a global beauty survey.
Right.
It's really interesting, but I'm like, they don't tell you the methodology. They tell you that they've surveyed 33,000 people.
And you've got to see the numbers behind the numbers. We talked about this last week. Until you've seen the numbers behind the numbers, you don't know shit.
I need to know exactly who those women are. And so part of me, like if I was to do a PhD in this, I will go and interview. I know that doesn't make sense, but I will either be there to interview them or they need to speak to me on camera or I don't know, like something where I'm like, okay, I know who you are.
Yeah.
I saw your face. It's not just like done, someone just logs onto a website and leaves a...
Tick, tick.
Yeah. Because I think there's a whole section of study that has been completely eclipsed for almost 30 years because it's very left-leaning in higher education, which means that they're going after the topics that they want to prove. So everything has a socialist tinge to it. Everything has a Marxist tinge to it because that's what they're researching.
Yep.
You know, very...
An anti-Western... Yep.
Yeah, and like I really want to do Jordan Peterson's academy because I know that that's not stuffed with indoctrination.
Sure.
And I feel like, there's parts, like, you know, if anyone's interested in higher education and you're right-leaning or conservative, go do it.
All right. So if the current drinking game is that every time you mention your masters, they have to take a shot, then if you're doing a PhD, every time you mention the PhD, do they have to do a line of coke or something? Like, how do we upgrade the drinking
I might
game?
need to start doing meth.
Yeah, something just to keep you going.
No, I don't know, man. If anyone's done a PhD, tell me now.
I thought you were going to say if anyone's done a line of coke.
No, tell me now. Like, tell me, what am I getting myself into? Is this stupid? Do you know what would be great, though? I get to wear a big fluffy hat or like a stupid hat.
Yeah.
And then you have to call me Dr. Carl's J Soda.
Dr. Soda. You sound like a drink, Dr. Pepper.
I'll
that. Call you Dr. Pepper.
I would be so insufferable.
Dr. Spicy.
It's Doctor. It's Doctor. Sorry, it starts with a D. Doctor. Yeah.
Dr. Bell Pepper. Dr. Carolina Reaper. Yeah.
I need to invent a chili for myself.
Yeah.
Give it like 10,000 Scoville scale.
Yeah. And then I'll call you Doctor whatever that is. Yeah.
But I wanted to finish this whole feminism topic on this that I stumbled upon. I don't know much about this, so we're going to read it together, but I couldn't get past it. So this is an opinion piece in The Australian, and this is what I saw first before I saw the other article. So she's talking about how virtuous extremists are killing off common sense with comedy. Right. So I was like, what is this talking about? South Australia's Women and Children's Health Network Chief Executive Officer, Rebecca Graham, has come out saying that she's concerned about the impact of miscarriage on, wait for it, intersex and trans community, right? And I was like, wait, sorry, I need to unpack this. Thank you for the link, because then I found the next topic. So this is the first article. Health officials, trans stillbirth remark fuels woke row. That's the article. So it goes on to say,
I feel like this segment's going to cost me some brain cells.
This made me so angry, but everything makes me angry, so that's not really...
I can just feel the IQ draining out of my shoes as I sit here trying to read that.
I'm going to read you the article quickly. A parliamentary committee examining the impact of stillbirth on mothers has prefaced its evidence by acknowledging that men who have transitioned or are transitioning to become women should also be a part of the conversation around the loss of babies during labour and pregnancy. Despite the medical impossibility of former men ever becoming pregnant or enduring the hardship of miscarriage, one of South Australia's most senior health bureaucrats opened her evidence to an SA parliamentary committee by reassuring that her use of the terms women and woman were not intended to be exclusionary in the context of stillbirth. Topher's having a meltdown, guys. I'm not done. The select committee has been formed after lobbying from groups representing affected and grieving mothers to examine ways to make the health system more attuned to the needs of women who experience the trauma of miscarriage. But South Australia's Women and Children's Health Network Chief Executive Rebecca Graham used her opening statement to the committee last week to reassure intersex and transgender women that they should also feature in the discussion around stillbirth.
Okay.
Go off, Queen.
How have we made Monty Python real life? You know that sketch from Life of Brian? Okay. Sorry, if you don't have a womb, you can't get pregnant. Okay? You have to have a womb. in order to get pregnant. And how incredibly patronizing to people with a womb, right? Womb bearers. Are we going to
It's always that type. They always look the fucking same, don't they?
How incredibly patronizing to mothers who have lost a baby to try and say, oh, we're going to cram these other people in
They need
with
to be
you
part of the conversation.
who don't have a womb.
Yeah.
They will never personally experience a miscarriage in the way that a mother who is having a miscarriage experiences it. They will never share that experience. That's not a transphobic thing to say. It's a biological reality. If you don't have a womb, you cannot experience that. There is no need for me to be in a conversation about mothers and what they go through with a miscarriage. I should be welcomed into a conversation about fathers and what fathers go through when their partner, their wife, has a miscarriage. Okay, that would be valid.
Yeah.
But I have no place. And no one without a womb has a place in a conversation about what happens to mothers when they suffer a miscarriage. And this is the literal erasure of women. And we need to say this now while we can, because later this year in Australia, there are some new laws coming in, which is going to make, these protests that are happening, these Let Women Speak events that are happening, and then obviously the trans-exclusionary radical feminist complainers are counter-protesting, and there's a lot of violence going on, not from the Let Women Speak side. Excuse me, what are you giving me? Did you lace that with some mushrooms or something? Or maybe it was the bread. Was it mushroom loaf? It looks like a mushroom.
You'll never know if you're dead soon.
Yeah, the coroner will. So we've got these counter-protesters coming in, bringing violence, trying to stop women from literally having a voice and saying, we exist. Mm-hmm. And then you've got these people who sit in these positions where they're meant to be supporting women. They're meant to be supporting, in this case, mothers who endure one of the most deeply personal losses I can't even imagine. I'll never know, right? Because I don't have a womb. And they're playing this stupid game too.
So here's the thing. I've never been pregnant,
sure.
And I've never miscarried. So I can't speak to that. I am a woman, but I've never been through that. But however, I have had quite a few friends who have miscarried.
Yeah.
And I've had someone who has had to, unfortunately, give birth to a stillborn at 26 weeks.
Yeah, wow.
And I can't possibly empathise. I've never been through it, but I've seen what it does. And not to discount that the father feels something.
Sure.
Of
It's
course.
not the same though.
It is not the same.
That's my point. I'm not trying to claim it is the same. Like, it is not the same.
A woman's body betraying her like that, losing a pregnancy, the woman often blames herself, or always blames herself. Yeah. I did something wrong.
And wrongly, if you're listening to this and that's you, that is not your fault. It
is not. And unfortunately, it's documented through history long before, the last 100 years. Miscarriages were unfortunately part of life. It's horrible and it's hard and it's very taboo because, it's such a fragile position for a woman to be in. It's very vulnerable.
It comes with so much shame that it shouldn't.
Yes.
It shouldn't have shame attached to it, but it does.
But how disgusting and evil for it to be mocked by including trans people in this conversation. I'm sorry, call me whatever you want. It is evil that we need to indulge these fantasies of these delusional, mentally ill people who want to wake up one day and decide that I'm now a woman and believe that they should be included in conversations they have absolutely no fucking right to. Okay, that's number one podcast.
That is, well, no. We dropped quite a few of them because we were talking
about
it.
They didn't count because we were talking about the word as scholars.
I don't think we've ever been accused of being scholars, although maybe you
I'm
will be
soon. I'm an academic twat now. Wow, I've become that which we hate.
The light and shade of that conversation changed real quick, didn't it? This is so, one, it's insulting, patronizing. It is a betrayal, but it's also like, show some courage on the part of these people who are entrusted by women to take the lead in their interest on these things.
And they're betraying their own...
Show some courage.
Yeah.
Right? And to actually say, no, this is about people who can get pregnant.
Yep.
And whatever you might call yourself, you're not one of those people.
Yep.
This isn't about you.
I know we've talked about trans people before. I believe they exist, and I believe that if you woke up in the wrong body one day, that's terrible. And I remember when I talked about this, I got absolutely torn apart in your comments for this.
Okay.
Because they're like, oh, she's part of the problem. No, I'm not part of the problem. Like, you read a history book, man.
There are people who struggle with the belief that they are in the wrong body.
Yeah.
I would argue that the belief is wrong. Their body's not wrong.
Yeah.
The belief is wrong.
Well, I like, you know, you can, oh, I've got to be careful. I don't want to get cancelled. We have deformities, physical deformities.
Sure.
So it would be fair to say that your brain chemistry can make mistakes too, and wires can get crossed.
Sure.
And I have never been in that position. So for me to speak from a position of authority to say, well, that's rubbish. Well, schizophrenia is not rubbish, right? So I'm not saying that, God, how do I say this delicately? I'm not saying that being trans is a mental illness specifically, but I do believe that there are people whose brain chemistry has not been configured the way most are.
Sure.
And that must be like a horrible thing.
I would agree and disagree. I'm not sure if it's a brain chemistry thing, but these people aren't pretending. Oh, sorry.
The new ones are.
It is a thing. It does exist where people genuinely are convinced that they are in the wrong body. And so then we as a society, if we care about such people, we say, okay, so is it the body that needs to change to match the mind, or is it the mind that needs to be changed to match the body? Well, we know for a fact that minds change all the time. People change their minds on all sorts of things, on all sorts of deep personal identity-related things for themselves as well. It changes over time. It changes due to circumstance. It changes due to discovery and realizations about yourself. And to sit there and just the crime of it right now is the number of people who were affirmed into changing their body, who are now realizing, hang on, this hasn't fixed anything for me. I don't actually feel any more at home in my body now than what I did before. It hasn't done any of what was advertised, and now there's a growing number of detransitioners and so forth. It exists in the sense that there are absolutely people that feel like they're in the wrong body. The correct approach, I believe the compassionate approach, is to say, let us help you to come to terms with and accept who you really are, which is the body that you were born into.
And this is the thing as well. Like, I've got gay friends who like to wear makeup or whatever, and I don't have any issue. Mate, do whatever you want. It doesn't impact me. I'm very libertarian with that.
They would fit in really nicely in the French, was it Louis XV or something?
Yeah.
Court.
I'm like,
with the high heels and the...
Fashion to me is just an extension of your personality. Like, wear whatever you want. It's not impacting me. I don't care. You know, I think there's people who dress fantastically and there's people who dress poorly. What business is it of to me if you want to do that, right? But when we start talking about cutting the genitals off young people or cutting off their breasts or giving them hormone blockers at such a young age, I'm sorry, you are playing God, and I draw the line there.
Yeah. If they're not old enough to consent to a tattoo, they're not old enough to be trusted with voting. Right, they can't drive a car, but we're gonna say, hey, if you say so, we're gonna do this, or even in some cases, actually trying to convince them. But coming back to the topic at hand, in terms of miscarriage care, needs to be directed at people who either have had or are at the very least capable of having a miscarriage, and this shouldn't be controversial.
Well, this is what pisses me off about women. We are literally, not collectively, but there are women like this chick, what's her name, Rebecca Graham, who are going out of, I'm sorry, I got to show you her face again. Going out of her way to bend the knee to 0.01% of people. We are literally making the majority suffer for the minority.
But it's not actually bending the knee to that minority. It's bending the knee to the enablers and to the fashionable people who care about how they look. Because it's the tea parties, it's the fashionable society. That are all about this right
This is
now.
why I'm saying more of you need to get into higher education to push these people out.
To push this stuff back. They're doing it to fit in amongst their peer group, which probably doesn't include the people that they say they care so much about.
Well, it's self-policing. So, okay. All right, I'm going to tell you something. Yes, drink. I'm about to say masters again. I'm going to dance around it as I always do so that no one knows who I'm talking about. I was on a job the last month where I was working with someone who presented as quite woke. And, whenever I'm in those situations, I'm very courteous. I don't say anything. I never bring up politics, but boy, do the left love to bring up their politics. I don't ask. I don't, whatever. We're doing a job. Anyway, this person presented that way and was like tripping over herself to show how virtuous she was.
Sure.
And I was like, oh, another one. I'm used to these people.
Yeah.
Anyway, when we're alone and we're doing something, she's like, oh, God, it's just rubbish. We have to do this, isn't it? I said, what? Sorry, what? She goes, oh, it's just rubbish. We have to carry on with all this stuff, isn't it? And I said, so why are you doing it?
Why are you the one carrying on?
Yeah. And she's like, oh, well, you have to. I said, no. And be mindful, I don't know this woman. So I'm just like, being careful. I'm like, well, I don't do it because I don't agree with it. And she's like, oh, you don't? And I was like, no, not at all. I don't have pronouns on any of my things. I don't, I don't sit there and acknowledge country and all this nonsense. She's like, oh, but, you got to do it because it's the right thing to do and, it causes so much headaches if we don't.
It's the modern religion.
And I said to her, I'm like, well, isn't that part of the problem? You're going along with it even though you don't want to. And I'll use another example. So many people did that during the pandemic. Oh, this is nonsense, but, we've got to do it. It's the right thing, blah, blah, blah. That, I don't know, is it a form of cowardice? Is it a form of that zebra mentality where you don't want to be on the outside?
Yeah, you've got to be in the herd somewhere.
It's very uncomfortable. And this is something that you and I have to deal with because of what we do. We're on the outside of the herd. We're not even in the herd.
Yeah.
We're like lone wolves out in our own paddocks. And it makes you a target. And my frustration with women like this, I'm like, does she actually believe this drivel? Or is she trying to appease people so much that she's talking herself in circles so that, and then they're all going, oh, shit, she did. And there's like this, it keeps perpetuating.
Yeah. So 15 years ago, I was studying acting. I did a year of full-time screen acting school. I went to a private screen acting school. And I had a mentor there, Glenda, very well-known Australian actress, and successful back in sort of, I think, the 70s and 80s. And she's had many, many roles since then. She's done very well for herself, and she knows the industry extremely well. And she's actually, I think she's superb.
Do you need water?
Yeah, a little bit. I think she's a superb actor, and she was a very good mentor. But I was the black sheep of the group, let's just say, because I was already out.
I don't get that vibe from you. That sounds weird.
I was already out with my politics, and so there was no hiding.
You already come out, guys.
And yeah, that's right. I'd come out of the closet as libertarian. Actually, I was more of a conservative back then. We're talking 15 years ago. I was halfway between a conservative and a libertarian. And she pulled me aside towards the end of the year's study, and we'd gotten to know each other reasonably well in that context of the acting school and the mentor-mentee relationship. And she said, Topher, you just need to learn how to run with the pack for a while. Yeah, then you can go but just run with the pack for a while. Now, for an acting mentor towards an aspiring actor, that was good advice because I was never going to make it. I was never going to be accepted in the industry as I was. And I realized that, and I went, well, then I don't want to be accepted in the industry. That's the choice that I'll make. I'll go the other way. So it was good advice from a career point of view, but that's also what destroys the souls of people like the woman you're talking about, where they know it's nonsense, but they just have to run with the pack. They have to zebra, they have to fit in. And then this is also what destroys good aspiring politicians. They go out there thinking, I'm going to do the right things, I'm going to make a difference, I'm going to this, I'm going to that. And then they realize, oh, I just need to fit in with the pack for a while.
Yeah.
And then they do that for long enough and they completely lose any identity and all of what it was that made them want to make a difference and get involved in the first place. This is cowardice.
Yes.
The courage is to simply say, no, I am who I am, I believe what I believe, and I'll let the chips fall where they may.
Do you know, I think back over my life when I got the courage or whatever it was, and I don't think you ever get it. I think it's sort of, I mean, I had a very different childhood to most, but I don't like being told what to do.
Sure.
And so if someone's
going to... oppositional defiance, disorder.
Yeah, I'm highly disagreeable, as Jordan Peterson would say. I'm very disagreeable in the sense that I'm not trying to hurt anyone's feelings or I'm not trying to be nasty, but I will also be very happy to just do what I'm doing. And I'm not saying you have to go along with it. And even all through primary school, I was like that, all through high school.
The communists had a pill for people who were disagreeable. It was made out of lead and injected at high speed into the cranium, and it changed people's minds radically. Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. I would have been killed off a long time ago.
Yeah.
But I do believe there's a reason that people like myself and you, we exist, and it's to sort of inspire other people. But it's not without its challenges because, for example, the woman I was talking about, she works with people in my industry that I die to work with. And I realised, after COVID that that's probably never going to happen for me.
Sure.
Unless I had a radical change of heart and scrubbed myself off the internet.
No, so the path that you have to take and the path that I'm on already, and I know you are, is to become the person that the next generation would die to work with. That's the path.
Yeah.
You go, okay, I'm cut out. of the industry as it exists right now,
Yeah.
I'm going to work so hard. I'm going to outwork everybody else. And I'm going to get so good because I'm going to stay humble enough to admit that I'm not the best I can be yet. And I'm going to be always learning and always hungry. And I will get to the point that at some point in time when I'm in my 60s or 70s, there's someone in their 30s or 20s going, I would die to work with him.
Yeah.
I would die to work with her.
Yeah.
And you redefine the industry rather than conforming to it.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I look at my photography all the time and I think it's shit. Like, I know I'm not shit, like, objectively, but to me, I'm like, this is crap. And I can do better.
And any true artist in that sense is always going to be the harshest critic, not in that, oh no, kind of sense, but in that sense of you're going to spot the areas where you go, next time I need to pay a bit more attention to that thing, right? And you'll always be doing that. I do that with my videos. I do that with my scripts. I've done that all my life with basically everything that I do. You know, my wife teases me sometimes. She's like, it's what does it take for you to be happy? I'm like, actually, it's very simple for other people to make me happy, but it's very difficult for me to be happy with my work.
Yeah.
That's actually those are two very different things.
That's the perfectionist curse.
And I don't think it's perfectionism. I think it is a willingness to say, I'm not yet at the absolute top of my game. I'll give you an example. I was asked or invited to run a significant session at an upcoming conference. And I've worked with these people before. I did a really good job the first time around. That's where Battleground Melbourne Live came from. And that was very well received. And I mean, you were there.
I was in it.
You were in it. And so they came back to me and said, hey, listen, we're not doing Battleground Melbourne Live again, but what else have you got? I said, well, okay, I can work on something like this. And I laid out a plan and I said, okay, you go do that. I spent the last month working on that in every corner of moment of time that I could find in between podcasts and videos and family and everything else. And I worked and reworked it. And I could not get to a point where I believed in this session, where I went, yes, this is good. This is up to my standard. And so I had a conversation 2 days ago with the conference organizer and just said, look, I'm not happy.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry. It's in your interest. We need to pull the plug on this session.
Yeah.
Was it going to be a bad session? No. Was it going to be up to my standards? No.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to deliver something that's not up to my standards. And here's why. You're familiar with the idea that in let's say, the corporate world or in politics or in the public service, everyone gets promoted to their level of incompetence.
Yeah.
So what that means for those that may not be familiar with this idea is if someone comes into an organization and does a really good job at that bottom rung, you promote them. And they do a really good job, you promote them. They do an okay, mediocre job, but they've got such a good reputation that they still get that next promotion. Now they're in a job where they're no longer doing a good job. It's above their level of competence.
Yeah.
For whatever reason. But now you're stuck with them. You either fire them and get rid of a good worker, a good person who was wonderful in other roles and get rid of them out of the organization altogether, or you leave them there in a position where they're floundering and doing damage.
Yeah.
And this idea, everyone gets promoted to their own level of incompetence. But there's a reverse thing that happens for people like you and I, where we're not employees. We are essentially freelancers. We're out there just doing stuff. And we do something that's really amazing, like Battleground Melbourne Live. I consider that to be one of the greatest triumphs of my artistic storytelling career, right? And then people go, that was incredible. What else have you got? Well, that was my top shelf idea. So I now have to reach to the next shelf down.
Yeah.
Right? And if I allow everything to get plucked off all the good shelves, and then I still say yes to the person that goes, oh, what else have you got? Now I'm pulling a rubbish idea out. Yeah. Something that isn't up to that standard. And I end up destroying my own reputation and destroying my own legacy and my own work because I went for too much volume over quality. And so this was me recognizing, you know what? In that on-stage environment, I only ever want to do top shelf. Yeah. Right, in my videos on YouTube, we've talked about this before. It's a mass market game. Yeah, it's a numbers game. It's a quantity over quality game. In that space, I do what I have to do in order to just keep churning out content. Fine, and I've got a certain minimum quality that I hold myself to, but fundamentally, I'm getting stuff out the door. In that on-stage context, where people are paid money and given an evening to come and travel to whatever that event is and put a bum in a seat, I will not disrespect them with anything less than my absolute best. And if I'm sitting there going, you know what? This isn't up to my standard, I'll pull the plug. And I did that literally 2 days ago on this session. And I think that's ultimately that trait. You have it. I have it. We have that combined with work rate. So we work our asses off. We hold ourselves to a very high standard. And that's why I have the confidence that I have that this podcast, you individually in your career, me in my own with the TOEFL project and everything else, but also us together in this podcast, we are going places, because that's a powerful combination of things.
I think so. And that's why I'm like going to the nth degree with my my exhibition, because even my lecturer was like, because he's never seen anyone like it. Because again, and I say this, I'm not trying to disparage people. I'm just saying, like, a lot of people who go and pursue further education, they're not commercially minded. So they're always doing it from the broke uni student mindset. And so, or
from the teat-sucking grant recipient.
Yes, or I need a grant.
Yep.
And that one mentor session that I got from the woman was like, oh, here's all the grant websites that you go to. And I was like, I'm not filling out masses of paperwork to maybe get money.
No.
And, you know, I think I showed you, like, and this is the last day to get them. So here's me I'm going to grift. Ready? It's me grifting, not you for once.
How the world changes.
So this is my website. I gave it a little refresh quickly. But I built like a little landing page for the project so people can jump on and, if it loads, and have a look. And then down here, I've got my hoodies for sale, and it's the last day. So if you want to go get a hoodie.
Yeah.
But my reason of doing a hoodie
rebellion
is literally like, you know, if someone buys a hoodie, I get the profit, and the profit goes to the exhibition. It's a tangible thing that people get. It's not a donation.
Yeah.
And my lecturer was like, I've never seen anyone do this before. I'm like, what do you mean? How do these people pay for it? Or they do a really mediocre exhibition, right? And it's crap, and then it doesn't get the attention that it deserves. And not to say that they didn't have great ideas, but it doesn't go anywhere. And so I'm like, you have to be resourceful. You have to go above and beyond outside of.
And you have to back yourself. You have to back yourself. I did a conference in Albury last year because I'm trying. I believe that there is demand for it in Albury. I believe that there is demand for really good, high quality speakers traveling into regional centres. Usually it's the capital cities that get these sort of big events, the big speakers, all of that. And I went, no, I'm going to try and break that mold. I know a lot of people that organise all the big conferences around Australia, and they said to me, look, it's not going to work. I said, well, have you tried it? No, because it doesn't work. I went, well, if no one's tried it, who was the first person who actually gave it a go and went, oh, that didn't work, right? Like, I couldn't find that person. So I went, okay, I'm going to give it a go. Now, I stuffed up a couple of things. I made the decision to go ahead with it too late. I didn't have enough lead time to get the word out. My marketing budget, this is the first time I'd ever run a conference, my marketing budget was not well used, and that's on me because I didn't yet understand where the ROI was going to be. Yep. So we lost weeks of time and tens of thousands in marketing budget not getting results to finally, belatedly at the last minute, discover something that kind of worked. Yeah. But by then, time was gone and money was gone. And I went too big on the conference. It was a 2.5 day conference. I could have done it as a 1.5 day conference and saved myself a chunk of money. But it became very obvious we're going to lose a lot of money on this conference. We're not going to sell the tickets. That became obvious weeks before the event. And obviously, I still worked on trying to fix that, but it was like, I can't count on this being fixed. If I'm going to lose money, I have a choice to make. Do I keep spending money and make it a great conference and just accept that I'm copying the hit? Or do I try and cut the budget and cut corners, all the rest of it, and then it ends up feeling like the budget was cut? Yeah. Because it always will. And I made the decision that we were going to back ourselves and just spend the money. Yeah. That remains. We had current and former politicians, prime ministers, deputy prime ministers, industry leaders. We had high level academics in economics and other disciplines flying into Albury, staying in Albury for a couple of nights, coming to the conference, speaking at the conference, and obviously all of the conference attendees. We flew in about 40 people and accommodated them and all the rest of it.
You paid?
We paid for all of that.
Yeah, that's where all your money goes.
And they still, when I talk to them, they say to me, when are you doing another conference? That was incredible. The people that came to the conference, when are you doing another conference? That was incredible. Yeah. And so I maintained the integrity of my brand and what I do. And I chose to take the financial hit. That cost me $70,000. Yeah. Right. Now, could I do it again and make money on it? Probably. Am I going to do it again soon? Probably not, because it hurt, and we're still trying to recover from that. We didn't have $70,000 to lose, to be clear. Yeah. That was that put us in a world of hurt, and we're still getting out of that now. But what I didn't do was compromise on the quality of what I was creating. And that's what you're talking about with your exhibition.
Yeah.
The temptation is to go, well, I won't spend the money because I don't need to. And it's only, it's you can every single one of those decisions you can rationalize.
Yeah.
And yet the end result is that what you've said about yourself and your brand and your quality of work and your care for the people that show up, because that was the thing for me. There are people, sure, the guests, the speakers are on my dime, but there are people who aren't just buying tickets to the conference. They're traveling hours in the car from remote inland wherever to then, and they're paying for accommodation and to come to this conference. They're putting $1,000, $1,500 by the time that's petrol and accommodation and everything else into being here. Am I going to disrespect them?
Well, that's
by cutting corners.
That's the cost of trying to go against the grain too. So I know a lot of people talk about this from the right side of the fence. A lot of people talking about the protests, for example. Yeah. And that is a mess. I have no idea how that's going to go this weekend. But I see people going, oh, well, let's just organise something. I'm like, what people fail to understand is I don't want to say there's procedures. There's no necessarily right way of doing it. But big things take a lot of planning, a lot of preparation, a lot of permits.
A lot of time.
A lot of time, a lot of consideration, and a lot of it's messaging. And I try not to pop people's, enthusiasm with reality checks, but then you don't do that and it becomes a spectacular disaster and you sort of go, oh, shit. And you don't want someone to have such a disaster that they never try again.
Yeah.
But you also want to be like, hey, we've kind of been through this before. Let me help you. I'm not trying to tell you what to do, but learn from someone who's been there.
Learn from my mistakes so you don't have to learn from your own.
And a big part of why the left, I think, have been so successful is because they have worked together to build a brand. And that's all I care about. That's all my career's been caring about, brand. The left have very good brands.
Their focus, though, because this is shifting, their focus was on their common enemy.
Correct.
And they put aside their differences because the common enemy was bigger. Now that they've kind of won in many, many measurable ways, they're their dominant ideology now. They've got our politics, they've got our corporate space, they've got our arts and entertainment, they've got our news and media, they've got our celebrity class. They've kind of won. And so now the differences between them outweigh the size of the enemy.
Well, that's like all empires. They have to fall eventually. Yeah. But I want to read you something from this opinion piece because I thought this was really well written. And I'm just going to have a quick drink before I do that because I'm croaky as hell.
What is this opinion piece
So about? Back about the woman, about the trans.
Okay, we're back to that. Okay, sorry.
Yeah. I just thought it was really good.
Wow, longest tangent ever.
It's not a tangent. We've been on 3 topics now. The silliest progressive ideas are almost always the product of good intentions married to abstract thoughts. If one starts by writing noble principles on a blank sheet of paper, then extrapolates from those ideas to arrive at some recommended policy proposal without regard to practical questions about application, one is almost certain to end with a disastrous plan. An idea that sounds sweet in the abstract will be sold as virtue on a stick, usually alongside a dose of emotional blackmail, only to carry misery in the real world. This is why Edmund Burke, among other great thinkers, admired the role of tradition and so distrusted abstract theory. That explains, at least in part, why Burke criticised the French Revolution. He believed the revolutionaries' zeal for abstract principles, which they assumed embodied rationality, oversimplified the complexity of life and ignored the wisdom of ages. Burke was proved right as the revolution spiraled from liberty to
liberty, equality, and fraternity was the original catch cry.
To the guillotine in a few short and bloody years. Tradition, Burke thought, is in effect the accumulated wisdom of the ages, the product of ideas that have been tried, tested, tweaked, and preserved because they work. Abstract theories justifying radical change lack the empirical testing of past experience and are much likelier to fail the laugh test, let alone the ultimate test of producing sound outcomes. That is not always true, of course. Experience itself teaches us some new ideas, are genuinely groundbreaking and deserve to be adopted. So that kind of sums up what we're just talking about.
Well, I go back to this quote all the time. I think it's one of the greatest quotes of Tolkien's work, and I think Tolkien's work is full of great quotes.
Drink! He brought up Tolkien.
But childless lords sitting in high towers musing on heraldry. And that is what so much of academia has become. Childless lords in the sense of having no vested interest in the future. They are in the present. They're locked into the present, and they're not actually looking at the long term, the future of where their ideas will lead. Living in high towers, they're disconnected from the realities of day-to-day life, and that's what Edmund Burke is sort of talking about there with tradition is so often just the learned experience.
Yeah.
And I'm a libertarian, not a conservative. Conservatives will defend tradition because it's the tradition. Libertarians want what works best, and that includes things that we're already doing. There's often good reasons why we are, and as they say, don't tear down a fence if you don't know why it was built.
Yep.
There's some good wisdom in those sorts of concepts. But the last part of Tolkien's quote, musing on heraldry, more concerned over appearances.
Yes.
More concerned over their own pomp and ceremony and status. And this is where we are now. We're doing Welcome to Countries where we're including biologically male people with no womb into support services around miscarriages, and we're doing all this stuff that is about the seeming that has no real world application in any actual practical sense. So childless lords living in high towers musing on heraldry, that is the heart of what's gone wrong with Western civilization.
Yeah. I'm going to segue. It's kind of I feel like this is going to be a very woman-centric podcast because we're going to talk about the kids in Scotland in a second.
Yes.
But I want to finish with good friend of the show.
Oh, dear.
Miss Abby Chatfield. Have you seen this?
I skimmed past it because I literally, I was in the car, I was in the backseat of the car working, and I was just checking some things on X, and I saw this, and I went, Carly's going to bring this up, isn't she? And I kept scrolling. I have no idea what it's actually
You're
about.
like, I don't need to look at this because Carly's going to bring it up.
Carly is going to make me.
I'm just going to play it. It goes for 5 minutes.
Oh, I can't
We're
do
not
that.
watching it for 5 minutes, guys, but we are going to watch it for a little bit. So I'll just
Parents,
start
don't
again.
get mad when I ask you this. Okay, I have an actual question for you, and I'm asking this in the most earnest way possible. This is not a gotcha. This is a genuine question to parents or people who are
get on
pregnant
with it.
or people who have decided to have a baby, like you're doing IVF or something.
So isn't that all parents? Like, do you
just
love how
parents.
it's like parents and then this person who might be and then this person who might be?
Abby Chatfield is the social media equivalent of that person who calls a 1 hour meeting for what could have been a 3-line email. Yeah. She records a 5-minute video for what could have been a 30-second TikTok.
People who either have had a baby or have decided to have a baby
so
in the
parents.
past year or two. Okay? How do you rationalise having a baby with the climate crisis? I'm not asking this as a gotcha. I'm not going, how dare you? I'm genuinely asking because I want kids.
Please don't.
Don't feel that it's possible for me to have them with the climate collapse happening.
Okay, before you say anything, this was a topic of conversation that trended in previous years. Yes. I'm surprised that Abby's now either catching up to it or is she clasping at straws because Abby knows how to manipulate the media cycle? I don't know if this has been in the media. I haven't looked.
I think it's a fair question for someone whose head is filled with doom and gloom, which she is. Her mind is filled with doom and gloom. Abby, you're absolutely right. The climate crisis is going to kill us all, and you should definitely never have any children because it would be a crime for you to procreate into this world that is going to die in a fiery apocalypse any second now. Okay? The rational and right and moral thing for you to do is to never procreate. I'm glad we cleared that up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm of the same opinion.
For the rest of us, though, the way that I rationalise the fact that I have 3 kids in a world that is about to die in a climate crisis is that the world's not about to die in a climate crisis.
Yeah,
it's relatively easy after that.
All I would say to Abby, and I say this in earnest, I'm not trying to be an asshole, is, babe, go open a history book. Mm-hmm. Look beyond the last couple of years. Go and look right back to before Christ, after Christ. Yep. These things have been talked about for eons, and they will continue to be talked about for eons.
Let's just touch on a couple of things. The climate doom mongers make a lot of money out of their doom mongering. There's this entire industry built around it. Not to mention that's before the renewables came along. Now
we talked about people getting grants. That's where they're getting grants.
Right. You can't get grants to study the lesser spotted newt, but you can get a grant to study the impact of climate change on the lesser spotted newt. As soon as you include climate change, suddenly the money taps open. But the headlines, and it's quite astonishing. So you and I talk a lot about echo chambers, and we both actively in our own ways do things to try and step outside of our echo chambers. And so my algorithm feeds me a pretty broad range of stuff, including a lot of climate apocalypse stuff. And I look at it and go, this is so incredibly dishonest. I just posted one on my Facebook page the other day talking about how the collapse of the West Antarctic ice shelf is going to be a catastrophe for us all, right? Now, it's true, the West Antarctic sea ice shelf is currently losing a lot of mass at the moment because there's a lot of very active volcanoes underneath it, which we've only just recently discovered. We thought they were there, but now we know they're there because it was recently surveyed. A vessel went out and did actually a detailed study and found a heap more volcanoes, many of them active than what they realised were there before. Lots of thermal vents, all of that. That area seems to have come alive recently with a lot more geothermal activity, and as a result, the West Antarctic ice shelf is breaking apart. It is carving enormous icebergs. It is losing ice mass. But that loss of ice mass is being directly offset, and in fact more than offset, by ice gains elsewhere in Antarctica. Antarctica as a continent, including the West Antarctic ice shelf, which is breaking apart, is gaining ice, not losing it. And yet you get headlines like this: Antarctic ice sheet on the verge of a catastrophic collapse causing irreversible damage. And for someone like Abby, where she believes this stuff, she's probably bathing in an algorithm-fed continuous stream of this apocalypse after that apocalypse, never going into the numbers behind the numbers, right? I look at that and go, that's interesting. And because I've been in this game for 16 years, I already know a bunch of stuff about it, right, for context. But if this was a brand new topic that I'd never come across before, I've immediately got a lot of questions that I would want to know the answers to before I believed that headline or really formed an opinion on what that had to say. But for someone like Abby, where she's already convinced, she's already been sucked in, she's a part of the religion, she is a follower of the cult.
And she will not engage in discussion. No. She is absolute on her positions.
Yeah, and if you doubt it, then clearly you're an idiot. You're beneath debate.
Yeah, there's like this religious dogma to the things that Abby took. And I do actually have some sympathy for her. I feel genuinely sad.
In the same way that I have some sympathy for Greta Thunberg.
Yeah, like you're being robbed of the best years of your life for falling for this stuff. And yeah, I think in 10, 15 years when, all the stuff that they've been fear-mongering about doesn't eventuate, they're going to look back and go, this is exhausting.
But you realise that'll probably never happen. Because we're already 40 years in and the disasters haven't eventuated.
Yeah, but she's still young enough to try and look back and go, oh, shit, they keep saying it and it's not happening. It's a bit like the vaccines. Oh, you're all drop dead. Yeah, I'm not dead, are you dead?
Right. But that actually cuts both ways because there were a lot of people saying, oh, it's a bioweapon and everyone will be dead in 5 years. Well, okay, yes, excess mortality is very high. It has come down from its absolute highs. It's looked like it spiked within about 6 to 18 months after the waves of jabs, and that's moderated now. But on both sides, we had people saying, if you don't get it, you're going to drop dead, and people saying, if you've got it, you're going to drop dead. Neither were correct.
Yeah, well, that's that whole sort of absolutism. The pendulum swings so hard either way. Yeah. It's bloody exhausting. But we're not going to talk about Abby anymore.
No, thank you.
But she is good fodder for the show.
The answer is don't believe that crap about the climate apocalypse.
I am going to segue over to another topic. So this time, Greens Senator.
Oh.
What's her name?
Oh, yes. We talked about the Bail Saves Lives thing last week. Her name's
Sarah Hanson-Young.
That is Sarah Hanson-Young in the top left, yes.
So I'll play it in a second, but as soon as I click it, it'll play. She is very upset that Snoop Dogg is coming.
Oh.
Do you know what I'm about to talk about? So Snoop Dogg has been picked to headline the AFL Grand Final.
Oh, has he? No, I didn't know that. I don't follow AFL or Snoop Dogg, so...
Snoop Dogg's an OG, man.
Oh, he's great. He's great.
I love Snoop, and okay.
I love that show that he did with like that convicted felon. What was it?
Martha Stewart.
Martha Stewart, that's the one. Yeah, that hardened criminal that you had Snoop Dogg and Martha Stewart on screen at the same time, and Martha Stewart was the felon. That was confusing, I got to say.
But you know Snoop Dogg's seen some shit.
Yeah.
He's seen some shit.
So, no, Snoop Dogg is a guy who completed the main quest really quickly in life, and he's just been doing side quests ever since. Like, the stuff he gets up to is amazing.
He's such a G. Yeah. I am a big fan of Snoop. But, look, the thing with the AFL, you think about who's played it over the years. I mean, Meatloaf was disastrous. Mm-hmm. Was it Katy Perry did last year? I don't know.
I don't follow it.
I haven't paid attention to AFL for a very long time. But when it comes to Australian matches and things like that, I'm going to play what she says in a second. There's always this haves and have-nots approach. And I talk about tall poppy, I feel like, every podcast. But with Australians, we want to champion Australian acts, right? Like, we should be having an Australian do the Grand Prix or Grand Final.
Yeah.
Yet when an Australian does well, we shit can them.
Yeah,
you sell out.
We tear them down.
Yeah, right. And it's just like it's an oxymoron. They can't exist at the same time.
Yeah.
So we want someone who has real celebrity presence, who can pull people into the MCG and entertain people. But every time someone does that in Australia, we shoot them down.
Yeah.
And we're going to find a way to tear at them and to,
Well, I mean, the reality is if you want to go big on the global stage, you have to go to America or Europe. And that's true in so many domains, not just in the arts, but it's certainly true in the arts. You have to get big in America or big in Europe or both if you want to actually have a
big
top level career as a singer, a musician, as whatever you want to be.
Which is why we're moving to Dubai.
And so, that's right, as a podcaster. And so, but we turn around and we say, oh yeah, they sold out, they went commercial, they left Australia, we have this chip on our shoulder when people do that. I think we have a very outsized sense.
People do that with Chris Hemsworth now.
Yeah.
He started on.
Oh, he went to America.
Home
of course
and Away,
he did.
And no. What the conversation around Hemsworth is? He built that massive house in Byron Bay.
Oh yeah.
The rich Hollywood guy comes in here, builds up on,
yeah.
takes over the land.
Yeah, of course. So, yeah, you're right. We want this underdog. Because as soon as they're not an underdog, we reject them.
Yes.
But then we wonder why can't you get a headline act from Australia? Well, because we reject the ones that get big enough to be a headline at something like the Grand Final.
To be honest, you'd probably turn around and go, well, fuck yeah. And also, even if, and I know this because we do it all the time, even if we do get I couldn't even name a big Australian band right now, of recent times. I can think of ones from 10 years ago. But let's say it's, I'm pulling one out of my head. I'm trying to think of someone.
AC/DC.
They're way too old.
Well, okay, sure.
I'm struggling here. An Australian band that's big that people would know.
Cat Empire.
They're not big.
Oh, they were pretty big.
They had one song. Anyway.
But they were big enough.
Let's say the Temper Trap, right?
I've never heard of them.
Oh my God, you have no culture.
I have, according to the Petri dish at home, I have a lot of culture.
You see what I have to live with.
I take probiotics every day to improve my culture.
I have to do this 2 times a week for you.
And she keeps coming back for more.
Apparently. Let's say the Temper Trap. They had a huge album, 2012. Fader, Sweet Disposition.
Sweet
band.
Disposition, yeah.
Big band, right? If they played today, people be like, oh, they're washed up. Oh, they're shit. No one's ever heard of it. This is Triple J crap. That would be the conversation. Not like, oh, that was a great band. Good songs. Love that. Thank you.
I will come to the AFL Grand Final when they have Eminem as their halftime entertainment and a rolled gold sealed in blood promise that he will be completely uncensored and able to do his most hardcore stuff from his Stan Slim Shady era.
Well, I'm hoping that Snoop comes and does his best. But let's see what Sarah Hanson-Young has to say, shall we?
$2 million to play his misogynistic, homophobic music on our turf. Why is it that the AFL is bringing in an international artist, a slur merchant, paying them $2 million rather than backing Aussie talent? The AFL is a cultural institution, and cultural institutions like this should be backing the rest of our cultural institutions, our artists, our musicians, our music industry right here at home. And of course, the AFL is mired in its own controversy over the last week or so. We know that one of the players, Adelaide Crow player, Isaac Rankin, was suspended last week.
She just literally rolled herself. She's like, it's a cultural institution, but let's talk about how terrible this institution is.
So I'm not going to get into any of the Isaac Rankin stuff. I don't care enough about AFL. But number one, the Parliament of Australia is not the place where we should be discussing who's the halftime entertainment at a sports game. However, if it weren't for the fact that the AFL gets gobsmacking amounts of taxpayer assistance in a whole host of different forms, sometimes directly to specific teams, sometimes for new stadiums, and sometimes for other things. And so unfortunately, because the AFL is on the taxpayer teat, getting welfare from the taxpayer, essentially massive corporate welfare, then unfortunately it does become a topic that our politicians talk about. It shouldn't be, but it is. But the fact that Sarah Hanson-Young feels that this is the topic, you don't get to just stand up in Parliament, on the floor of Parliament, and speak anytime you feel like it.
Yeah.
You only get a number of opportunities and you have to use them well.
Yeah.
This was her choice. This is the priority right now.
That's the priority for a Green senator, yeah. And so this is an ABC article, and I was reading through the comments, and of course I was like, yes, we've got to support young talent, but you don't. You don't, Australia.
You can support them anytime you want. Open up that Spotify app and go Australian and start listening.
You don't.
Just shuffle. Just listen to them all.
Snoop Dogg is one of the biggest artists of our time. He's been a mainstay on the global stage since the 90s.
Yeah.
Right? He's a generational artist. Gen X and maybe some boomers, millennials, and even Gen Zs.
Yeah.
Everyone knows a Snoop song. Yeah. Everyone likes Snoop. Not everyone, but most people, right? What a cool thing that he went, I'll go to Australia and play your footy thing. Like, this is the thing that frustrates me about Australians. Look at me, I'm going to go off. We like to think we are a much bigger fish than we are. Mm-hmm. We're a tiny country on a very big spot of land at the end of the earth. And to Americans, we are too far, can't be bothered. Right? That's how most Americans think of Australia. Too far, can't be bothered. Joe Rogan won't come here. Like, Correct. A lot of big bands don't come here. Too hard.
Can I speak to that? Because I have personally invited Joe Rogan via a mutual friend of his and mine who got a direct personal response from Joe himself, not Joe's people, from Joe himself. So I messaged this guy messaged Joe on his phone, and Joe replied and said, I'm never going to Australia.
Yeah.
That was his
shame,
assessment,
Joe.
which is a shame. Look, I'd love it, and we would make sure we had a good time over here. But once you have your rant, and then I want to talk about the economics of coming to Australia.
Yeah, no, it's really hard. So when an artist issues a world tour, rarely is Australia included, and it's so difficult. I mean, like big artists do. They know they're going to make big money, or they're small enough that they can still do small shows. That mid-tier, it's very hard. And I mean, this is a big conversation, but Sarah Hanson-Young getting up and doing this in Parliament, and, I feel like this is just her getting some points. That's all it is, because all of the artsy people are going to be like, what she said.
She's topic jacking. She's taking the thing that her set are talking about and then saying it in Parliament so that they'll all watch the video online and cheer her on.
And the thing you got to think about it, the AFL and the grand final goes across multi-generations. It's very hard to pick an act that most people will like, right? And that most people would get excited for. You look at the Super Bowl. They're not getting an indie band to play the Super Bowl. And like the grand final, Australia's our best version of the Super Bowl, right? We get 100,000. They get like 100 million people watching the Super Bowl.
Online,
And so playing the Super Bowl is a huge honour, and they get people who have had a decorated career. They're very rarely a new talent. So, when it was J-Lo and Shakira, they'd been around since the 90s. When it was Snoop Dogg, Eminem, and 50 Cent and Dr. Dre, they'd been around for 3 decades. When it's Beyonce, she's got like 6-7 albums under her belt. When it's Janet Jackson, Justin Timberlake, they're big acts. Most people know their music. That's what you need at the grand final.
So often they're past their prime, though.
Yeah.
And I wonder if there's an element of this safety kind of culture that we have in high profile sports these days. They don't want scandals. They want they want to keep everything safe and polite and politically correct. If you get someone who's a has-been, their scandals are behind them.
I don't know what's about. No, I'm going to disagree with you with that. I wouldn't say they're has-beens. I think it's like you have that like meteoric rise to fame. And then for like, year, 2 years, some people like Taylor Swift have ridden it a lot longer than others, where you're like the top of the pop culture zeitgeist.
Right.
Everyone knows you. Everyone's listening to you. But like all things, and I don't think this is a decline in their talent or whatever, it just gets to a point where people move on. They grow out of the music. They find someone new.
I was in the US. I watched the Super Bowl. I'm just going to name drop here. In the House of Hercules.
Good old Kevin.
Kevin Sorbo and his amazing wife and family were kind enough to host me for a few days over there. And it happened that the Super Bowl was on. And so I sat with them and watched it. And they were very gracious and explained rules and what was happening, blah, blah. And then the halftime show came on. And it was a bunch of big names.
Which one was that one? I can't remember.
Well, this is the one that happened in early 2024.
So last
year, yeah.
can't even remember.
And it was unremarkable. I just remember sitting there going, really? These are big names. They had big names there. And it just felt tired. It felt.
Was it Rihanna? No. It was Rihanna.
I feel like they had an ensemble. Like there was a bunch of different ones. And it was just tired.
It was, here we go.
Riveting view.
Headlined by The Weeknd. It must have been unremarkable because I don't remember that. Normally I watch it.
No, it just felt really tight. I just went, oh, okay. I mean, these people did not feel like they were there on fire, firing on all cylinders, hungry, passionate, giving it their all.
Was this the Kendrick Lamar one? And Venus Williams was doing the trap walk and all that?
I genuinely don't remember. Like, I don't remember these people on a good day. And this was, what I remember was just the level of mediocrity.
Oh, that's a shame because I do like The Weeknd. He's got some great songs.
He's done some great songs. I do like Starboy. Yeah, some of those ones. That era of his was really good. Feel my face when I'm with you. That one never quite worked for me.
That's a great song.
Yeah.
No, I loved his song from 50 Shades, not the movie, but I loved his song from that. No one wants to hear me sing, particularly when I have a croaky voice.
I don't know. But maybe that's exactly when people want to hear you sing, Carly.
Remember Phoebe from Friends?
She's like, as if I watched Friends.
Smell like cat. And she had a terrible voice and it's like anyway.
No,
had to be there.
I'm glad I wasn't. I didn't have to be there. I'm glad I was not there.
Anyway, Sarah Hanson-Young, shut up.
And why are we wasting time? This country has real problems.
Yeah, well, we are an hour and 40 in, so we probably should get to the hard-hitting news. Okay, so I'm going to give you some things. There's some things to talk about. We'll pick because we're going to have to narrow it down very quickly. One thing, quick caveat, I thought it was really interesting. The donors behind John Pesutto's defamation bailout, do you know who the big one is?
No.
Simon Holmes a Court.
He only gave a little bit, at least publicly. Publicly, there was only a little, because he contributed to the GoFundMe. So it was a public amount of money.
It was $500.
$500, yeah.
I just thought it was funny. I was like, is that him just going,
I think it was him with a bit of a piss take. But you know what's really interesting now? So the Liberal Party has come in and bailed him out basically at an institutional level. The party itself has lent him the money, which is very questionable under the charter. There was talk of a lawsuit, but I'm not sure where that's at. I haven't heard anything, so maybe that's fizzled out and hasn't happened. I'm not sure. But polling in the seat of Hawthorn is so bad for John Pesutto that it's become very clear that if the Liberal Party want to win that seat, they have to can him. They have to run a different candidate. The question becomes, can they switch him out now that he owes the party $1.5 million or some obscene amount of money that they loaned him, probably on the basis that he was going to keep making money as an MP? Well, now it looks like if they run him, not only will he not have a job as an MP to pay back the loan, but also the Liberal Party won't even hold that seat.
Yeah.
So
they kind of stuffed themselves, didn't they?
Yeah, they've really boxed themselves into a corner.
Okay, so we've talked about that one. I want to get to the Scotland one, but that's going to be a big topic, so we'll get to that in a second.
I think we've only got big topics left. We've got Iran. We've got the police shooting.
And
we've got Scotland.
We do, and then I was going to talk about the Socialist Labor MP who has 4 rental properties.
Oh, the one who came in they were going to champion renters' rights. Yeah,
we'll talk about her very quickly. So Victorian Labor MP, who portrays herself as a champion of renters' rights, is facing backlash for reportedly owning 4 houses.
Well, no, you don't understand. She loves renters so much that she's trying to make more of them.
Of course.
Yeah.
For her own benefit.
That's how much she cares.
Sarah Whitty, a Melbourne-based Labor politician aligned with the party's socialist left faction, because of course, has spoken out about tenant struggles, yet recent disclosures show she has several investment properties generating rental incomes. The revelation of do as I say, not as I do has drawn cries of hypocrisy. Even some media commentators have weighed in saying she's collecting tax-deductible rent from properties whilst decrying the rental crisis.
Now, I'm actually going to go into bat for her a little bit here in the sense that you don't have to, like we talked about this before, you don't have to be in poverty to champion, to try and help people who are. I talk about trying to reduce the cost of living.
I'm sorry, but why do they always look the same?
We talk a lot about reducing the cost of living, reducing the cost of electricity, especially because there are people at the margins, people who are living in caravans, people who are living under bridges. Well, we're not living under bridges, but we can still talk about that. So this is a bit of an easy gotcha. But one does not accidentally end up with a property investment portfolio.
A share portfolio full of blue chip shares.
Yeah, those are some conscious decisions that have been made over time. Now, I don't know, has she made that money herself? Has she benefited from a trust fund? Has she, how has she made it? I don't know. And I'm certainly not against success. But yes, to be aligned with the left faction of the Greens and in that position does seem a little hypocritical.
Yeah, I find it funny. I agree with you. I champion her doing well, but don't come out and then try and tell me that, you're anti-capitalist whilst you're benefiting off capitalism.
Yeah, making money from the system.
This was worth talking about. So this came out, this was in the Herald Sun. The Allen government is spending a staggering amount daily to keep youth criminals locked up. Now, I thought this was interesting because I didn't realise those bloody Skims ads haunting us.
I didn't think they locked them up in
Well,
Victoria.
we probably lock up, true, but to be fair, Australia, the Victorian Party is so bad at managing money that we probably spend more locking two up than most of the country for the rest of them.
True.
So I'm going to read this to you.
They just put them in the bins.
Yeah.
In the machete bins. Just drop them in there.
The Allen government is spending more per day detaining youth offenders than any other state in the country, with each detainee costing Victoria over $280,000 a year to lock up, more than double what New South Wales is paying. The eye-watering statistic was revealed in a new report by Andrew and Nicole Forrest Minderoo Foundation, which claims taxpayers are losing billions of dollars to lack of investment in early intervention policies for kids in crisis. Launched in federal parliament on Wednesday morning, the report shows each young detainee is costing the Victorian taxpayer a whopping $7,775 a day. Meanwhile, the New South Wales government has only paying $2,814 a day, while Queensland manages to keep them locked up for $2,162 a day. And this comes as the state's youth justice system continues to be plagued by a crippling staff shortage.
Yeah. Well, this is basically Victoria in a nutshell. You've got a staff shortage because morale is in the toilet. We're spending a fortune locking up not enough people because they keep bailing a lot of the hardened offenders.
Indeed.
We talk about that a lot. We're getting terrible value for money for taxpayers. So they're not solving the problem and they're creating a new problem in the form of the amount of money that they're spending. This is Victoria in a nutshell, and I'm sorry, I've been saying it now for years. Victoria is the California of Australia, and Victorians like it this way, and it's going to have to get worse before it gets better.
It has to explode or implode at some point. It has to.
See, I've been hearing that for a long time. And, people used to say, once debt reaches 100% of GDP, that'll trigger the collapse. Well, no, there's nothing magic about that number. There's nothing magic about any particular threshold that means it's going to collapse. And, again, if you're playing the drinking game, get ready. When I went to Venezuela...
Oh, Lord!
When I went to Venezuela...
We're drunk.
My liver has resigned. I can't work in these conditions.
We made them drink about 7 times because I said masters.
You realise that the just because the collapse is inevitable doesn't mean that people pushing back and waking up and doing anything about it is inevitable. Those two things are entirely separate.
You think we're going to be Argentina? We're going to decline to a point where we get stuck there.
I hope that we're only Argentina.
Yeah.
I genuinely, and it'll be different because technology's changed. It'll look different. It'll feel different. But fundamentally, what we are doing in Australia under Albo and doubling down on it and tripling down on it, and then even more so what we're doing in Victoria, this is the road to Venezuela. I've been saying it for over 10 years. I'm not wrong. I'm watching it unfold before my eyes. People laughed at it 10 years ago. There are many people still laughing at it now, but we're seeing it in the numbers. This quality of life, our disposable income, our living standard and productivity have now dropped to levels not seen since before I went to Venezuela. We've lost a decade worth of growth and improvement.
And attitudes are only getting worse.
Absolutely worse.
That's what really frustrates me. I won't bring it up because I don't want to derail the conversation, but City of Yarra councillor put up a video on Instagram talking about the fire services levy,
right,
and how all the councils are now coming together to fight back against the Allen government, saying we don't want to collect this.
Yeah.
And City of Yarra, right, as workers they come, but they just had council elections and a lot of the old Greens councillors were booted out.
Yeah, right.
So it's no longer super progressive left. It's probably more Labor left, right?
Okay.
And so this counsellor made this video, but then you go read the comments, like, oh, wow, rich landlords having to pay more per year. People's attitudes suck because they still haven't worked it out. Every time taxes go up, that means the poor pay more, not the rich people. The poor.
But also it's this attitude, it's this belief that if we bring rich people down, if we punish rich people, we're going to help poor people. And it's based on the Malthusian false binary. So Malthusianism is basically a scarcity, a lack of resources. Read The Population Bomb by Paul Ehrlich. The first edition was in the 60s, and he said there'd be mass starvation by now. There isn't. Newsflash. In fact, the world is starving less now with more people than it was previously with less people. But this false binary, this idea that there's a finite amount of resources, which means if someone's rich, it's because they took more than their fair share.
Yes.
But they don't.
Because there's only a finite
There's a finite amount. And they don't realize that it can be created and it can be destroyed.
Yeah.
So what they think is if we make you have less, then that money will have had to have gone elsewhere and found somebody else, which will make them better off.
Yeah.
Now, helping the poor is actually very hard. It requires real work.
Yeah.
They don't want to do that. It's much easier to just go out there and hurt the rich.
Yeah.
And they think that when we cost the rich money, we must be helping the poor because it's a zero-sum game. There's a finite amount of resources, and every dollar that we dislodge out of a rich person's bank account is going to find its way down to some other person and help them. It doesn't work that way. As we know, wealth can be created, it can be destroyed. You can knock the rich off their perch all you like. That doesn't mean that anyone else is going to get any better off.
Yeah.
So in their imaginations, what they think they're doing is leveling everybody out to meet in the middle. All they're actually doing is dragging everyone down to meet in absolute poverty. And that's what has happened in every country where socialism has been allowed to take hold. It's what's going to happen in Australia unless we wise up. And I'm sorry, I don't see us wising up.
Yeah.
I just don't.
I don't either. As I say, I pay attention to the comments. I think the attitudes of Australians are so poor. And I see it in our own comments, not to bring it up about YouTube comments, but I see it like there's a defensiveness. When you point out an issue, people are immediately on the defensive.
We're not allowed to say anything bad about Australia, especially anything bad about Australia that doesn't apply to that particular individual. I love it. But I'm hardworking. Okay, good for you.
Well, I mean, I say this every podcast. Like, if what I say doesn't apply to you, then I didn't mean it to you. But people take it personally.
That should be obvious because we talk about the fact that we work extremely hard. We're not saying that no Australians work hard. We're saying that culturally, as a group, we are becoming unproductive through a combination of people not being willing to work hard and a combination of even the people working doing jobs that aren't productive.
And overwhelmingly, the attitude of Aussies is really shit.
Yeah.
We are like, I know we're descended from the British and they whinge about everything, but Aussies like, bitch. Aussies aren't happy for other people doing well.
Yep.
I talk about tall poppy all the time, but also just in regards to anything when it comes to the government, go read the comments. Oh, well, that's bullshit and I this and I that. Everyone centres themselves in the discussion. I think that's what Aussies do.
The government should do this.
Yeah. Australians are so like, well, I don't see it, so therefore it mustn't be happening. It's like, okay, well, you're one person of 25 or 26 million. You know, like we're not talking specifically to your circumstance.
Yeah. The numbers are really ugly.
Yeah.
And when you look at the numbers and then you see the attitude being expressed, yes, in comments, etc., but also just in voting.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. Only 34% of Australia voted for Labor. They still overwhelmingly won that election.
Yes.
Right? In Victoria, Labor won that election after all of what Daniel Andrews did. In WA, Labor won that election. You know, they've got Cook now, but they had whatever his name was during the pandemic. Like these people, McGowan, these people are getting voted back in by Australians.
Yeah.
And when there's any talk of, you know, for example, the recent revelation that we shouldn't have people with mild to moderate autism on the NDIS, the D in NDIS being disability, crazy. Right? So it still has room for intellectual disability. And if a child's autism rises to the level of intellectual disability, they'll still get on the NDIS. But if it doesn't, then they don't belong on the National Disability Insurance Scheme.
I'm going to bring that actually.
Just coming out and saying that caused a meltdown. Heartless. You know, this scheme has existed only for a couple of years and there's all these people coming out saying we can't live without this thing.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, simultaneously, we know that people are getting horse riding lessons on the NDIS.
Yeah.
Bicycles on the NDIS. All kinds of things. I'm not saying those are bad things, but why is the taxpayer paying for that?
I agree.
But the minute you try and take any of that away, Australians want to be outraged. We want to play the outrage game. This is going to be fatal.
So I'm just going to pull it up. I want to make sure I don't throw this person under the bus. It was like an ADHD mums group on Instagram.
Right.
And they shared the story about the NDIS and saying like, this is disgraceful, like we need support, whatever. And exactly that. So hang on, that's the thing. Is it going to let me click on it? Yeah, here we go. I'll pull it up. Okay, so I saw this yesterday. NDIS minister. Kids with level 1 and level 2 autism shouldn't be on NDIS. Translation. You don't look disabled enough. Mild means it doesn't matter. That's how these people take it.
Which is completely dishonest.
The government is apparently saying you don't look disabled enough to be expensive. And anyway, so I'll read what the caption says. You don't grow out of autism, but apparently you can grow out of the government support. That's what the NDIS minister just implied, and we're not letting it slide. Mark Butler's speech at the National Press Club was full of outdated thinking, offensive assumptions, and dangerous ideas, like the suggestion that kids with mild to moderate autism should not be on the NDIS because their disability isn't permanent. Let me tell you, tell me you don't understand autism without telling me you don't understand it. We heard every word and we won't stay quiet. And then you hear what people say. So one person went in there to bat for the government and got destroyed.
Oh, of course.
But then everyone else is like, the NDIS should be how, we need more, it needs to expand and blah, blah, blah. So when people say, not all Australians, well, these are Aussies in the comments writing the shit.
This is what I've said time and time again. It's one thing for you to be noble and try and patch the holes in the bottom of the ship. But if you look around you and you are surrounded by other people smashing bigger holes on the same ship, at some point you just have to realize, I'm just getting my family off the ship.
And I just find it so exhausting. What was it? Like 1 in 6 6-year-olds are on NDIS. But what is it now? 20% of the population of Australia is
disabled,
considered disabled.
Yeah, they're not necessarily on the NDIS, but they're considered disabled. And we've talked about this before. If everyone's disabled, no one is. If everyone's special, nobody's special. This is madness.
This is like bigger than NDIS. This is the mentality of the majority of Australians. I'm a victim. Support me. Give me more government support. I want more free shit because I deserve it.
And the problem is this is not unique to the left of politics. This is also an enormous number of people on the quote-unquote right of politics, nationalists, etc. They want, whether it's agrarian socialism, government support for our industries, more government support for manufacturing, for our coal, for our gas, for our aluminium smelters, for this, for that. No, sorry, stand on your own 2 feet.
Yeah.
All of you, stand on your own 2 feet. Because I've said it before and I'll say it again. If you think it's hard to be struggling in a wealthy country, wait till you're struggling in a bankrupt country. I've seen what that looks like, and I have made a commitment that my children, I will not let my children still be in this country if it reaches that point.
Yeah.
Right? And that should be a commitment that every single adult, every single parent should be making, and every single adult should be making that commitment for themselves. I will not still be here if it reaches that point. Ultimately, you and I can't decide what the future of Australia is. We can try and influence it in our own small way, and that is exactly what we're trying to do. But in the end, this is bigger than us.
What I see happening, I could be wrong, but what I believe will happen is we're seeing it now with Queensland and Victoria. All of the talent and all of the money is shifting, right? You've made Victoria so inhospitable to businesses and entrepreneurs that they're all migrating to Queensland. Yep. Okay, cool. And anyone that's of woke persuasion, I don't know if they're moving to Victoria. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. Okay, so then you have Queensland being the Texas of Australia and Victoria's the California.
Yep.
What happens when that happens on a global scale? All right, so you're pushing out, it's already happening in the UK. They've pushed out all of their millionaires and billionaires.
Well, not all, by no means all, but there is an enormous capital flight happening at the moment.
Yes, and people are going
and the same is already happening in Australia. I personally know a lot of these people.
So that's my point. So, so a lot of the wealth leaves the country because it's inhospitable.
But also not just the wealth, the brains that know how to create wealth.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
Keep in mind the discussion we just had. Wealth is not finite. It's not a fixed pie. There are people that understand how to invent it out of thin air. That's what businesses and entrepreneurs do. Those people are leaving, taking their brains and their wealth with them.
And so that's my point. Are we going to see, rather than it just be a state thing, countries become the Texas of the world and the California of the world?
That is it. 100%.
That's what I say. So, I'm already thinking about this. Me and G have been talking about this extensively. We're going to move to Queensland, but then what?
Yeah.
What's the end goal? Where are we going?
So my intention is to get a red ensign passport. So there's a series of Caribbean islands.
St. Neves and
St. Kitts and Nevis. The Goodness me. They've all just run out of my brain.
We're both watching the Nova
British Virgin Islands, all these guys. Relatively easy to get passports from them, depending on how much money you have. You can get them for very little money if you're willing to go and live in there. So Dominica, I think last time I checked, and these things change all the time, so don't take my word for it, but if you were willing to go and live in Dominica for 2 years, so not to the Dominican Republic, which is part of the large island with Haiti, it's a separate island further south, you go and live there for 2 years, you get citizenship and a passport, right? Now, do we all want to go and live there for 2 years? No, not necessarily, but in a world with Starlink...
I think that's the long and the short of it. Like I said this to Jay. I don't have an answer to this, by the way, but I work my butt off and I feel like I'm barely scraping by.
Yeah.
And I'm not necessarily making bad money either. And I'm like, I just have less for it.
Yeah.
And I was like, if I had this same attitude in a country that wants me to succeed, I will be able to accumulate wealth. Now, I do want wealth. I don't think I should feel guilty for saying that. No. I want to be rich.
Yep.
I want to be successful. I want to be able to not be beholden to new legislation that's constantly trying to push me back down. And I'd like to get to a point where I'm able to make decisions for myself and don't have to worry about what the repercussions are.
And let's talk about that I want to be rich thing. In order for the world to become richer, we on average need to create more than we consume. We've talked about this many times before. So I want to be rich. By that I mean, what I don't mean is I want to take wealth from everybody else in return for nothing.
Yeah.
What I mean is I want to organize my life in such a way that I create so much surplus that whatever I consume is such a small fraction of what I'm able to create.
Yeah.
And then I position and arrange my life in a way where I get to keep some of that difference.
Yeah.
Right? That's what I'm talking about when I say I want to be rich. I want to generate a tremendous amount of value with how I live and what I do, and then be able to harness and harvest some of that value for myself and for my kids and for my family.
I'm the same. And I always say, you can't pour from an empty cup. People are like, we should be doing more for poor people. Well, you know what? The middle class can't do much when you keep squeezing them. You can't have middle class supporting philanthropy if they can't even pay their bloody gas bills.
They love poor people so much that they're making more of them.
Well, and that's exactly my point. Like, people always shit on Adrian Portelli. I talk about him all the time. Like, at least he's doing something.
Yeah.
He could not be.
Yeah.
He's only doing it because he gets clout. Well, okay. Doesn't matter what his incentive is. He's doing it.
Yeah.
You know who can't do that? Me.
Yeah, correct.
I can't go and put like a $200,000 tab at Coles. I don't have it.
Yeah.
He does great.
Yep. And if he's willing to do it, then whatever his motives are, those people are still helped.
But that's my point with the Australian attitude. Oh yeah, he's giving away money, but like he's only doing it because he gets social media clicks.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. Well, he won't do it then.
Yeah.
Cool. So everyone suffers because you don't like the way he's doing it.
That's right.
Cool.
Yeah. You don't want him to. You've decided that he's evil, and so anything that he does that might imply that he's not evil, you have to assume that he's doing for evil reasons.
Oh, he's a billionaire, so he's just a piece of shit.
Yeah, that's right.
Sorry.
No. So genuinely, the more time passes, the more alarmed I am about the direction that Australia is going in. South Australia, I just did an interview with Sarah Game, MLC from South Australia, released that a couple of days ago on my YouTube channel. They've just passed some laws that actually make the Victorian permanent pandemic powers look pretty mild in comparison. We're watching this trend happening around Australia, and people are cheering it on.
Yeah.
That's the actual problem. And the people that are getting up in arms, and we didn't end up talking about the march coming up this weekend. The people that are getting up in arms are getting up in arms about the wrong thing. They're getting up in arms about one of the things that is making the situation worse, but not actually the cause. The cause is government policy.
Yeah.
They're getting angry about immigration, which, yes, increasing the population has exacerbated things like the housing shortage. That's a fact. That's true. But ending immigration is not going to save this country.
Well, I will say something on the immigration thing. There was a statistic that came out yesterday that in 5 years, we've let in more Indian migrants than Greek and Italians over 100 years.
Sure.
Right? And I understand their sentiment because the immigrants that come over tend to live in their own enclaves like they did when they were Greek and Italian and they lived in certain parts.
The same thing was true then.
And you're definitely seeing that with the Indian migrants who are coming here.
Yep.
Now, I'm going to try and say this delicately. India is a very big country and it has a PR problem. There are very intelligent, very, very rich Indians. And there are Indian families who have very nice conservative Western values. There's also the very poor parts of India. And that's the part that gets the most of the PR. So people conflate the two. I know Indian people who are absolutely lovely. My landlord happens to be Indian as well. And I dare say my new landlord will probably be Indian. Using that as a blanket statement to say that these people aren't going to come here and add culture or they're diluting our culture. Have you guys ever been to Maui?
Yeah.
Have you been to Bundaberg? Have you been out?
They've got a good drink.
Bundaberg rum is disgusting.
No. Bundaberg ginger beer.
Oh.
Don't insult me like that.
I was
Gosh,
say
Carly,
Bundy is disgusting.
have you met me?
Yeah.
Bundy rum, far
out. But this is the thing, right? Like, and I'm not betraying my race saying this or betraying my country saying this. When the white nationalists are like, we need to protect Australian culture, I'm like, which part? Because I grew up in Sunbury.
Sure.
And in Sunbury, there was both. There was the rich Sunbury people and there was the very not rich Sunbury people. And I can tell you now, there was parts of Sunbury that were like, you didn't want to go there.
Yeah.
That's the same with India. So assuming that India is bringing their culture here. Now, everyone always points to certain stories like the Uber driver that peed in the elevator.
Yep.
And apparently that's representative of all the Indian migrants coming here.
Yeah.
Well, no.
No, it's not. Of course not.
But of course, this is the same thing I say about the Sudanese crime gangs.
Yeah.
Not all Sudanese are youth crime offenders, but a majority of them are.
But this is why we have to deal harshly and properly with the ones that are.
Yes.
If we actually care about Sudanese migrants, then you should be championing proper accountability for the small number of them that do commit serious crimes. On the numbers thing, so this annoys me, how to lie with statistics. The large influx of Italian and Greek immigrants was post-World War II. It was 1940s, 1950s and into the 1960s. Australia's population was a fraction of what it is now overall. And so, yes, as a percentage, I don't actually know how the numbers would compare, but of course we're bringing in more Indians now than what we brought in Greeks then, because we're importing them from a country that has a far larger population into a country that has a far larger population. What matters is the percentage. What is the percentage that we're bringing in? And the fact is Australia's population is growing by an unremarkable number of people every year. Now, a larger than historically true proportion of our growth is immigrants. That's true because our natural birth rate has dropped. But our infrastructure is not under pressure because migration. That's not the case. Our actual population growth is average for all of the post-war decades. And the percentage of the population that is Indian or whatever else is unremarkable compared to previous influxes like the post-war influx of Greeks and Italians, etc. And people say, oh, well, it's different this time. Those people don't have our culture. Well, they said the same thing about Vietnamese following the Second World War, okay? And yet the old Vietnamese still don't speak very good English, but their kids and their grandkids are as Aussie as you and I, right? The Greeks, we now accept that the Greeks assimilated perfectly well. We accepted the Italians assimilated perfectly well. They were screaming, Aussies were screaming from the rooftops, we can smell the garlic on the ships before they've even reached the shore. These people don't belong here. They're not like Irish and English and German and all the other groups. But they bought
really yummy food.
And so these arguments are exactly the same arguments. And when I hear these people saying, oh, well, the Greeks and Italians were different, not according to the people at the time.
Yeah, and it's all relative. And the other thing is as well, like, it's such a dumb argument. Oh, they're, culture or they look different or whatever. That is definitely an element of racism. But what I'm more interested in is who are they and what caliber of people are they?
100%.
That's what
100%.
I care about.
And let's actually deal with the troublemakers that come in.
And this is the thing. Like I talked about Dubai last week with Supercar Blondie. Like Dubai has an incentive for ambitious people who are entrepreneurs, who are smart to come over. Great. Send me to that country. Yep. I would rather live in a country full of people who are ambitious, who champion success, who want to cultivate wealth than I would in a country that cares about making sure that everyone looks like them.
Yep.
That's weird to me.
So I want to talk briefly about the march on the 31st. I did my video on that exposing the people that were actually behind it, the organisers, etc.
Can I just say, sorry to interrupt you, but like what did we say in that podcast? And we pissed everyone off and then this happened and I was like, I told you this would be a bloody PR disaster. So Beck Friedman, who you mentioned in that thing, Freedom. So this happened, right? And she said, oh, they got me in a gotcha. So they thought going on Ben Fordman, who's TGB, would be a softball interview, right?
Yep.
And this is like, I'm just going to go off for a second because this is something that people don't seem to understand. You think the media is your friend. You think because he's right-leaning, he was going to give you some softball questions and he was going to champion your cause. You fell for the trap. This is what we were trying to say. It doesn't matter what your intentions are, the media is looking for a way to orchestrate a huge hit piece, and they will find it, and they found it with Beck because went on the record saying, oh, you know, he took my content and my answers out of context. He didn't quote me correctly, rah, rah, rah. Yes, that's what Topher and I were trying to warn you about.
So also though, I and I'm not going to go heavy on this. I've given Beck a hard time already, but I have the entire 2 hour plus Spaces conversation between Beck and a bunch of like genuine, actual, awful racists. They're making jokes about the Holocaust, making jokes about Schindler's List, the movie, saying it's a great movie if you stop it, 75% of the way through. And this is what they think is funny, right? And I don't believe that Beck is an actual neo-Nazi, but she's hanging out with them. And the internet's a big place. You can choose. There is a niche for everybody. And if the niche where you feel at home is full of actual white supremacist neo-Nazi types who make jokes about killing Jews, that says something about you. And if you think that you can be the face of a protest movement and that the media aren't going to find some of this stuff and use that to portray everyone who shows up at your protest that you're organising, that your face and your name are all over, as the same as you, then you're frankly delusional. Now, the only reason I got involved in this in the first place is because someone, now Beck says it wasn't her, and I accept that, there are other people involved, but someone who doesn't want their own name or their own face to be attached to the rallies used my name and my face and footage of me speaking at an anti-lockdown protest years ago as an advertisement for people to come to the August 31st rallies. And I take exception to that. If you are such a coward that you won't put your own name and your own face on a rally, don't you dare use mine. And I'm not opposed to immigration in the first place. So it's not even honest to turn around and use that as so anyway. So I said my piece on that. But let me say this. So the protest is now 4 days away. I didn't want to say anything about it to start with, and I wasn't going to can it, even though I knew who was behind it. I wasn't actually going to can it because, tactically speaking, the best thing that can happen is for the crowds to be enormous and peaceful, and for any attempts from the National Socialist Network guys or these neo-Nazi guys to try and co-opt it to just look ridiculous because the numbers are so huge that they're just a pimple on the ass, right? So that's why I wasn't going to speak out against it, because I'm like, I actually don't want to hurt. I don't agree with what they're campaigning for, but I don't want to hurt the numbers here. And then I was forced, in my opinion, to have to speak out and distance myself from it because they co-opted my face and my name. But my hope for the rallies actually remains what it always has been, and that is that they get enormous crowds because they've got some momentum behind them that make any attempt by the pajama party brigade to co-opt it and make it talk about the fact that it's theirs look absolutely ridiculous. Now, had this been organised by somebody who didn't hang out with the fascists online, then that would be very doable. The problem is the person whose name is on the application in Sydney for the protest up in New South Wales, the person who's getting interviewed on media, the person who's being featured in news stories is someone who is very much on the public record as someone who hangs around with actual white supremacist neo-Nazis. That's not going to go well. No.
And much like we were calling out the fact that the Ayatollah's banner was being shown at the Palestine protest and the Taliban flags, and then I've got this photo here from X, there's the pro-communism flags in the Palestine rally. Like, this is what they're looking for. It might not be that the majority is about that, but...
it won't be. The vast majority of people will be there because they love Australia.
I agree.
But the media are going to sit there and go, well, yeah, but you responded to a call from someone who has hung out in these sorts of,
And that's why it's like, I know people don't want to think about this because they get frustrated. And I hear why you're frustrated and I get it. But these things need to be done delicately. This is a PR thing. In Australia, you are up against it. You are going to be called all sorts of things already. Having that tinge to it, like you said,
having actual substance to the accusations. And Beck got quite upset that some people, once she'd kind of gotten in touch with this kid, made this video that went viral, and that's where the date started. And then he wasn't going to do anything with it, and so she stepped in. And he basically handed the whole thing over to her before he understood kind of who she hangs out with. Other people then came in, not me, but other people that I know of came in and said, hey, can we help? And she rejected all of them. And she said in various interviews and things that they were trying to steal the protest. No, they were trying to save it. And this is what she doesn't understand. is until she stops hanging out with these people and 5 years passes and she can say, that was a phase that I was in at the time and I've moved on from that and that's not me anymore, then fine.
Yeah.
But that's 5 years' time.
Yeah.
She actually, if she cares about this movement and if any of these people care about this movement, they actually need to step away and let people that don't have that tinge, and it's not just a tinge, this is, they're like, oh, but the media were always going to make out like we were this and that. Yeah, but you actually are. Right, that's the problem.
Can I say something else as well?
Sure.
And I'm not trying to piss people off. I know this will be taken poorly, but when it comes to things like this, everyone's like, oh, it's ego. You're just mad because it doesn't have your name on it or whatever. I'm like, no. It's not that. I know you want to think that because you think very simply about these things. It's actually so much deeper than that. You need people who are level-headed, who aren't going to get emotional. And the thing that really frustrated me in the early days of a lot of the COVID marches is the caliber of speakers who got up. There were people who get up there talking about bloody bush law and being sovereign citizens and all this nonsense. I'm like, every time you allow one of those people to get up there, it is ruining this.
Yeah.
There was a groundswell of people who were anti the lockdown, who wanted to kill the bill, and instead every time that happened, the conversation got hijacked. And what you need is people who are either good at managing people, who are good at having boundaries and saying no, no, because this is the thing. Everyone is quite emotional, and I understand it. I'm also quite emotional about it. But when you let this just go crazy, that's when it just all goes to hell. And I'm saying that as someone who has been through it myself.
I've watched it. So, I mean, I used to do my slow chats after every protest. I would sit and do a slow chat online. I'd get live streamed and get thousands of views because no one had anything else to do. And I started to enforce discipline. I started to talk to people about, hey, these mixed messages that we've got, this is not working. We need to clean up our messaging, make sure that no one with a stupid sign is standing near the speakers at the front. All the idiots with the stupid signs that aren't really core to our message, they all want to muscle their way in up the front and get on all the cameras. It's not helping. And then slowly people began to respond to that, and that kind of got cleaned up. And then that was the early days, and then Zoe Bueller got arrested, and things really kind of began to kick off from there. And let me say, a lot of the people that are involved in these rallies this coming weekend did amazing things during COVID. Yeah. Right? Now, many of them were not radicalised to the degree that they are now. Yeah. Some of them were, and we knew that. We knew that there were people, on the fringes of the movement that were that way inclined, but most of them were not. They've radicalised in the years since. They've kind of gone, they've thrown the baby out with the bathwater. Really. Yeah. But here's my hope for this weekend. Massive crowds waving Aussie flags very proudly. And there's three things I would ask of everyone who chooses to attend. And if you're thinking of attending, don't let me dissuade you. Okay, don't say, oh no, Topher said we shouldn't. No, I said I'm not attending. Yeah. Okay, that's all I said. Please keep in mind three things, or I'm going to say four. Number one, have a big ass smile on your face all day, and do not get involved in and do not let anyone else start any actual trouble. Right? Just have kindness in your heart for everything and every circumstance, and no matter what gets thrown your way, there's going to be counter-protesters, there's going to be police, there's going to be idiots within your own ranks who may be agent provocateurs, maybe, but they might actually just be the fash.
And they also just get high on their own supply. They get a little bit too confident, start carrying on.
Yeah, they get cocky and so forth. Number two, be very aware of people wearing masks, right? People keeping their face covered, particularly if you notice there's a cluster of people with their faces and their identities covered. Just stay away. Okay, they might be the fash, they might be Antifa. I don't know. Just
there might be just progressive left antagonists.
You just don't need to be around them. Number three, stay aware of signs in your vicinity. Right? Because you don't want to get photographed with that one idiot, that one loser who's in there holding up some whatever like a sign. Sticker or something, and you don't actually bother to see what that sign 3 people in front of you actually says, and then,
Well, that happened during COVID. There was a guy there with the gallows. Yeah. And the photo, because obviously, like, one guy holding the gallows. Yeah. So that's all the media saw. Yeah. And so everyone that was around him, they may have had nothing to do with him. Yeah, correct. But that was the photo that was everywhere. And what I'm saying is, like, and again, I'm not trying to dissuade you. I'm just trying to help you think about things from a less emotional point of view. You get photographed and put on the front page of the paper and your work doesn't like it, you're looking down unemployment. Yep. That's where we're at. And you have to think about that.
Yeah. And my final point is, think in advance about how you're going to respond if someone with a microphone up the front or on a loud hailer during the march starts mouthing off with things that are genuinely despicable, genuinely racist. The organisers, unfortunately, know a lot of genuinely racist people. And you know, the organised, like, I don't think Beck is one of them, but she's right there. And a lot of her circle are those people. What if someone spur of the moment goes and barges in and decides they're going to speak, and that because they know Beck and because of whatever? I mean, Beck can only be in one place at a time. There's marches in every single state. Do you really know who's getting up there to say stuff? Do you know who's going to have the loud hailer during the march? How are you going to respond in the event that they start to say some really, truly awful, despicable stuff? Because like you said, Carly, some of these people get high on their own supply. They get carried away. They're going to start mouthing off and saying all kinds of stuff, potentially. I hope they don't. And part of the reason why in the end I made the decision, you know, I'm going to make this video, I'm going to go on the attack, number one, to distance myself from this march. Number two, because actually these guys getting slapped around in the media before the march is going to make it much more likely that they're going to enforce discipline during the march. And we're less likely to have idiots actually do this. So I hope it doesn't happen. I hope that they've had enough of a taste of just how quickly and how far this could go wrong, that the people that get a hold of the microphone are actually going to keep their head screwed on right. But even that's not a guarantee that you're okay. You could be down the front, someone could say all the right things, you're getting photographed with them, listening to what they have to say, and then the media do a little bit of digging and find out a thing that they said 18 months ago on an X space that hasn't been deleted, or find some social media post of theirs, and you're still, you know, associated with that person and with their ideas and so forth. And we know that those people are going to be right up there around the front of this march because they know the organisers if they aren't actually the organisers themselves. So have a think about how you respond. Do you walk away? Do you turn your back? Do you boo and start shouting? What's your decision about how you're going to respond in the event that someone tries to co-opt that enormous crowd and preach some kind of genuinely despicable, racist, white supremacist, hateful message? Because I hope it doesn't happen, but there will be people who will get the microphone in various states that do actually hold those views.
Yes.
And it's just a question of whether they choose to express them or not. And you need to know what you're going to do if they do.
Yeah. I think that's enough for that topic.
Yeah.
I have a new one.
Excellent.
This is some good news. Linda Reynolds, I feel really sorry for her because Brittany Higgins basically derailed her political career by saying that she was covering up the rape allegations.
Right.
And she's just been awarded $315,000 plus $26,000 in interest by the Supreme Court in WA for having been defamed by Brittany Higgins.
How much was Brittany Higgins given by taxpayers?
Just under $3 million.
In a very, very sweetheart deal that we never really got an explanation for or justification for or anything like that. Barely 10% of what she was handed by taxpayers doesn't really seem like enough.
This will empty Brittany's pockets, though. She's been tied up in all sorts of legal. But isn't there the one with
Well, so what's his name is the guy who was at the heart of it all, who then lost a defamation case.
No, he's
suing again, isn't he?
No, he got found to have likely have done it during a defamation case. So that wasn't a court case around the rape. It was a court case around defamation.
That's right. It was a defamation case. He lost that, but he's appealing something now.
He's appealing that, but he's also going after something else. And Lisa Wilkinson is trying to clear her name because that's tarnished her career.
Yeah.
This whole fucking thing is a mess.
It is a mess. And, I mean, this is the weaponization of the believe all women type of attitude and angle that came in there, where all it took was for her to make a claim. Yeah. And then it all just unraveled from there. Now we've got millions of dollars in taxpayer funding having been handed out with what appears to me to be very little oversight or explanation to the taxpayers that are funding it.
Yeah.
Court cases on top of court cases, making what appear to be contradictory or overruling decisions over the top of each other. Yeah,
it's that story needs to die. And I think... Look, I'm not going to weigh in on what actually happened. No one knows. No. None of us were in the bloody room. How could we know?
No.
But I will say Brittany Higgins and this Dave Shiraz guy, I reckon he's the mastermind behind a lot of it.
You reckon?
Yeah, I reckon he's pushing her to do things. He just seems like he was a Labor staffer.
Right.
And he had incentive to sort of derail things and make a whole mess of it. But all this has done is made anyone who gets raped in the future have a lot harder go at trying to see justice. That's all this has done.
This is what we've talked about with Amber Heard and so many others.
Do you think he did it or didn't do it?
What?
Bruce Lehman. I don't know.
Bruce Lehman. I've got no idea.
I think they both seem like shitty people, to be honest.
All I've seen is the footage of her immediately after the alleged rape, coming out of the apartment and all the rest of it, which I'm sure most of us have seen. There's that footage. It doesn't strike me as someone who is in distress. That's all I'll say. Now, what we have is a situation, so not talking about this case in particular because I don't know, but we do know that men have been accused of rape by women who consented at the time and then changed their mind later, which is legally that shouldn't be a thing that you can do. If you consent at the time, if you are a willing participant at the time, you don't get to change your mind and then pretend that you were abused on the basis that you've changed your mind about that. Is it possible that she was inebriated beyond the point of being able to make a consensual decision? I don't know. But again, it gets really, really tricky at that point. How does a man know that you're beyond that point or not? Like, it's not always obvious. It can be. There can be situations where it's blatantly clear, don't touch her. She's not in a condition where she can consent to anything. But there's also a point where that's not clear yet. And you could claim that afterwards and say that happened. And again, I'm not talking about this particular case. I'm just making observations. You can come out and say something after the fact that is potentially different to how you thought about it or how you behaved during.
But look how many lives it's ruined, not just hers. Like, Brittany, this is going to follow her the rest of her life.
Yeah.
Every decision she makes moving forward, she will be scrutinised, whether she's in the public eye or she's not.
Yeah.
Because it's got the country's attention now. Bruce Luhrmann's life is destroyed.
Yeah.
Like, he'll probably never be able to get a job. I don't know what he'll do with his life. But Linda Reynolds lost her career. It obviously cost an election.
Yeah.
Lisa Wilkinson lost her career.
Yeah.
You know, like, it's everything this case has touched has turned to shit. But I was just reading some of the comments. So, already people saying that, breaking, Linda Reynolds overtakes Bruce Luhrmann as the most hated person. She sued a rape victim. This is what this conversation is now. It's no longer about was she raped and should we. It's all about everything else that gets caught up in it. That's just the typical Australian news cycle now.
Yep, unfortunately. I didn't cover this case at the time because I didn't have much to add and I don't now.
I looked at it, like, again, I'm not weighing in on whether it happened or happened, but I just looked at the vultures that circulated, like Lisa Wilkinson and her speech at the Logies, like, she thought this was going to be her career moment. And I thought to myself, you disgusting piece of trash. Like, let it be dealt with discretion.
Yeah.
It became what do you call it? Like, career point scoring for her.
Yeah.
And look what's happened. It's blown up in all of their faces. Yep. That's all I'll say.
Couldn't happen to a nicer bunch.
Yeah, I'm just like, although, we talked about it on Monday, the mushroom lady's sentencing. We talked about that. Do you reckon she'll get life, no parole?
I have no idea. I haven't really followed the case. It has not captured my imagination the way it has so many others.
All right, we're going to get to the big stories in 2 seconds. I just want to touch on this one thing. Talk about insufferable. So I'm going to mind my language.
You're going to talk about me again.
Always. Monique Ryan, talk about people who are getting up in Parliament and using their privileged time to do something. She got up yesterday, I think it was, to spruik the mRNA vaccines, advocating for the expansion of the COVID-19 vaccination availability while systematically ignoring all of the new research that points to the fact that these mRNA vaccines are causing serious harm.
And the fact that they're being withdrawn in the US.
So she got up. I'm not going to... I'll play it a little bit.
Do we welcome the Moderna facility in Australia? Moderna in Australia? Yes, we do. Australia's world-class health and medical research capacity, with which I am personally and particularly familiar, makes us an obvious location.
Is that an acknowledgement that she has a conflict of interest?
No.
Pharmaceutical manufacturing. During the pandemic, Moderna's vaccine development was the fastest ever seen.
Fastest ever. That doesn't inspire me with confidence.
Yes, Monique.
I don't want the fastest ever.
Yes, Monique, you're right. That's the problem.
Yeah.
Globally. And Moderna's mRNA vaccine for COVID saved millions of lives.
No, it didn't. It came out the last to market, didn't it?
I don't remember specifically, but also all of this saved millions of lives nonsense is based on the fudgiest. I mean, talking about needing to know the numbers behind the numbers, the fudginess of
How many people were maimed? How many young men suffered from pericarditis and myocarditis?
Myocarditis, yeah.
How many people have had blood clots? Like, this is the thing. You made that thing mandatory, saying that it would save lives, and now you don't even touch on the fact that this is causing serious issues for people and their health long term.
Talk about erasure of victims.
Yeah.
Right? People complain about the Brittany Higgins case and Linda Reynolds getting a defamation payout and that sort of stuff. Oh, you're erasing victims. We'll talk about erasing victims. I mean, the Forest of the Fallen is a group of people that go around with these people's stories and photographs on sticks, and they set them up at public events or in parks and these sorts of things to try and keep their stories alive. Why do they have to do that? As a bunch of volunteers giving time and resources and energy and spending petrol driving around doing this? Because if they weren't doing it, these people would literally just disappear.
No one wants to acknowledge that. Like, I know someone that had a heart attack like the day after getting their COVID vaccine. Wow. And it was because of the COVID vaccine. And he is literally one of the people that's on the government's register, did all the right things. But you couldn't even say that during COVID. Oh, no, it's not. Yes, it is.
Yes, it is. Absolutely.
You can't say that it saved lives whilst it's also hurt people and killed people.
Yeah, and when the death toll from COVID was so heavily inflated through all the methods that we've talked about before, people are dying in car crashes and getting put down as COVID. The government in the US and elsewhere in the world had financial incentives. You would get, if you were a hospital or a doctor, you would get payments if someone died of COVID that were larger than what you would get if someone died of another cause. So there was a financial perverse incentive there to lie. Everything was COVID.
Yeah.
No one died of the flu. So,
everyone lost their minds during COVID.
Statistically, the flu disappeared for 2 straight years. The cold and flu disappeared for 2 straight years. Statistically, it killed next to nobody, which is obvious nonsense.
And you know how serious the flu is. Like, influenza A and B can kill you, yet people prior to the pandemic weren't, terrified to go outside.
If you look at all respiratory related illness deaths that were actually respiratory illness deaths, not car crash deaths mislabeled, and compare that to the baseline, it ticked up slightly.
Yeah.
It barely moved. And that was true before the vaccines were developed. That was true in countries, unlike Australia, where we locked down and we kind of kept it out most of the time. In countries where it ran rampant, their actual end of year respiratory-related illness deaths were relatively unremarkable.
I still am so angry with what the government did to emotionally blackmailing people into getting it and putting in the fear of God into people that thinking that if they got COVID, they'd drop dead.
Yeah.
Like, that's so unforgivable because people still think that.
Yeah.
Even though all the data's there, all the evidence is there. Yeah. And there's still people who I see the old people walking around with their masks on. And unless you're immune compromised, that's a totally different discussion. But for the most part, these people genuinely think it's cruel.
Yeah.
It's cruel.
Look, I had to make the decision that anytime I see someone wearing a mask, I simply assume that they are either immunocompromised themselves or they work or live very closely with someone who is.
And if that's the case, then absolutely, no issues.
So by doing that, I just go, I'm going to assume that that's what's happening here.
They could be going through cancer treatment.
Who knows? Yeah. Who knows, right? And I'm not going to judge by appearances. So if you're wearing a mask, I'm going to assume that you need that mask, and I'm going to give you a bit of extra room and a bit of extra leeway so that you never feel uncomfortable because I've come too close. And also it just gives me a bit of extra distance from you in case you're one of the real proper nut jobs. And by addressing it that way inside my head, it doesn't bother me nearly as much.
And that's the thing, again, by creating this chaos around it, now people who are genuinely sick, who have genuine immune issues, are now mocked or treated poorly because you have these utter nutbags who wear their masks in their car still. And again, it's like saying if everyone's racist and no one's racist. It's the same with that. There are people who are immune compromised. There are people who, if they get sick, will be very detrimental to their health. And rightfully so. Their families take the precautions to make sure they're safe. And that's perfectly normal. That's fine.
So yes, as for this, I mean, this kind of grandstanding. Now,
how much money do you reckon she's getting from lobbyists?
I have no idea. I'm not going to speculate because that can generate lawsuits. But what I will say is, and this will upset some people. So during COVID, I said, and this has been clipped by people and you've tried to use it against me. I said back then, look, I hope that these mRNA technologies prove to be amazing and give us the ability to conquer diseases that currently we're not able to conquer, and develop vaccines and medicines faster and tailor them to individual people and do all sorts of amazing things that we can't do. But I ain't going to touch them until we've got long-term data.
Yeah.
Right? That's what I said then. Now, what's very, very clear is that as with every other attempt to create a vaccine against a corona-type virus in the past, of which there have been many, once again, exactly the same as all of the other ones, the vaccine has ended up backfiring and has damaged immunity more than what it has actually helped. And that's exactly the same case. The impact on T-cell count for people that have jabs and boosters is much greater than its life-saving capacity, because very quickly the virus escapes from the vaccine, because the vaccine's coded for a single protein. So a single mutation is all it takes for it no longer to be effective against a new variant. So its effect is very targeted, very short-term, and its detrimental effect in terms of the T-cell count, well, that is a foundation to your entire immune system. So you become more vulnerable to absolutely everything else.
Yeah.
Whilst getting narrow protection against something which will only be a risk for a short amount of time until it mutates.
What frustrates me around this whole conversation is the absolutism. You get someone like Monique Ryan who gets up there and pontificates and tells everyone that, but you can't even during COVID you couldn't even have a conversation.
You couldn't even question it.
You get kicked off the internet, or you get basically exiled.
You'd lose your YouTube channel.
Whereas now it's like, all this data's coming out. We're finally having. No one wants to go back and be like, oh shit, we got it wrong.
Yeah.
Think of how many people had to participate in that, not because they wanted to, but because they were terrified of losing their jobs and whatnot. And I think that is such a stain on humanity that we did that, and people enjoyed doing that.
But that's also a large part of why a lot of people don't want to talk about it. Even the victims that were bullied into it, that didn't really want to do it.
Everyone's trying to move on.
Well, they're sitting there going, I've got a ticking time bomb inside my body, and we don't know what this is going to do at some point in time. I just don't want to think about it.
Yeah, and that's the other thing too, that I'll say on the contrary, the people going, oh, it is a ticking time bomb, you're going to drop dead. That's not helpful either.
No, it's not. So let me get to the thing that's going to upset people is I still think that there is a place for mRNA based research.
Yeah.
Because it is being used, for example, in trials, creating targeted, essentially therapies against specific cancers. And because cancer is one of these things that we don't understand particularly well yet, there's a huge amount of research, and obviously they know a lot about it, but there's a lot that we just don't kind of get. Like it's kind of different in every person. It behaves in different ways. It's kind of this thing that we're still trying to really get a grasp on. And mRNA, sort of a genetically coded therapy, is a potential pathway forward that could be tremendous. And if I had aggressive stage 4 cancer and my choices were take an experimental mRNA-based therapy and risk myocarditis or die next month, I'd probably take the risk of myocarditis.
I honestly think it should be up to the individual, and they should be informed. Don't we talk about that all the time? Informed consent.
Correct.
And I know a lot of people, when it comes to cancer treatments, there's a lot of people who will be more than happy to throw themselves on some trial and hopefully maybe get some new drug. And then other people go, no, I'm not putting myself through that. I'll just let it. That should be totally up to the individual.
Yeah. So I'm not opposed to the idea that mRNA therapies are continuing to be researched, and even that Australia is potentially involved in doing that. But it should always be voluntary. And I think it's very, very clear that we just need to stop trying to develop vaccines for coronaviruses. Every single one at this point in time, without exception, has done more harm. Now, in the past, what's happened is they've recognized that during the trial stage and they've abandoned them.
Yeah.
So they've never been rolled out.
Yeah.
They've never been approved. What happened in this case was they gave them an emergency use authorization before they'd gone through any meaningful trial stage, and we became the clinical trial, as the health minister at the time said. And now we're discovering that yet again, the mRNA version of a coronavirus vaccine did exactly the same thing as what every previous version of a coronavirus vaccine did, and that is more damage to the immune system than help.
Yeah. Okay, next topic.
Let's get to some real fun ones. This is amazing. This is amazing. And and I use that in like the best possible and worst possible senses. So what we're looking at here is a symbol that has gone worldwide. And this is based on a poor young girl who has clearly been hassled. Her and her friends have been hassled so much where they live that she has begun to carry weapons on her in order to protect herself from predators. Now, this is in the UK. Now, we were told for a long time that rape gangs were the rape grooming gangs were a conspiracy theory. It's not real. Yeah, here's the video here. Do you want to play the audio?
Yeah, hang on, I'll start from
It's horrific. Just trigger warning.
Fucking wealthy! You don't dare!
Yes, you have a knife.
You don't! Hey, I'm fucking wealthy! You're fucking bad and
Why are you fucking with us?
These are fucking kid bashers!
Show the knife. Show the knife.
Get
Show
the
the knife.
fuck away from us!
Show the knife. Show the knife.
Don't touch her!
That's
Touch
it,
me.
that's
Do
it.
whatever
Show
you
the
want to
knife.
do. Get my love sister!
Show the knife. That's it.
Don't fucking touch my little sister! She ain't fucking 12!
Yeah, shoulder knife.
So
Maracha.
this is the reality of England, where, remember, we've been told
That's Scotland.
Scotland, sorry, but the United Kingdom, sorry, I should have said. Remember, we were told for so long there's nothing wrong. Migrant grouping gangs, all the assaults, everything else, it's not real, it's not happening. Well, because of that denial from adults, grown men and women who have a responsibility to protect children, now children, and you can hear the trauma in their voices. I don't know what their background is, but I'm going to suggest that's not their first rodeo.
Yeah.
They've had some experiences that no, girl of that age should have had. And that 12-year-old has gone to the lengths of saying, well, I'm going to carry a hatchet. I'm going to have a machete with me so that I can ward off and intimidate anyone who might try and do that to me again, or perhaps she's aware of it having happened to others or something. Something has happened that has caused her to make that decision. Now, can we bring up that symbol again?
Oh, yep. And
now, what's happened to them is horrific. It gets even worse because the person arrested in that situation was the girl. She was arrested for
I was trying to find the article, but
carrying knives and for carrying weapons and the means of her own self-defense, which is disgusting. But the UK is a powder keg at the moment. This has been suppressed for so long. This has been lied about for so long, and people are so over the lies and they're calling them out. And I'm going to bring up here, there's actually been recently a report that has come out from an MP in, no, hang on, what's, I must not have screenshot it. That's a shame. Hang on. Okay, yes. Okay. Rupert Lowe, MP, ex-Southampton Football Club chairman, businessman, farmer, former member of the European Parliament, and he is the Great Yarmouth MP currently. So he is an elected official. Mm-hmm. Yesterday on X, Rupert Lowe MP says, our rape gang inquiry has today released research detailing 85 local authorities in which the gang-based sexual exploitation of children is taking place or has historically done so. This is one of the most comprehensive exposés of the rape gang scandal to date. I'm not going to go into the details here. But it's horrific and it's real. Yeah. And all of that, nonsense about Tommy Robinson, he's lying, he's a racist piece of whatever, blah, blah, blah. No, he was right. Yeah. Elon Musk getting behind it a year or two ago. Yeah. And really drawing a lot of attention to it. He was right. Yeah. Girls like that have grown up and all they've ever known is a home where they are not safe in their own streets. And that's the consequence. That's the result. That is the result of the failure of courage of adults, of politicians, of grown men and women. The people who should be doing the protecting have literally allowed these predators to operate and in fact protected these predators from operating. And this is my point. People say, oh, it's because they're immigrants. No, again, even though it's actually a large number of people, it's a small percentage of the immigrants. The problem was not that immigrants came into the country. The problem is that the government buried all of the evidence from the very earliest signs of trouble. They buried it and they denied it and they tried to pretend that it wasn't happening. It's the same thing that's been happening with violent crime here in Victoria. The issue is a complete failure of the adults to be adults. And now these girls are having to do what they're doing. The heartening thing is that symbol of the machete and the hatchet has gone worldwide. People have grabbed that. That has become an emblem. Yeah. That is going to start showing up on flags at the marches that are happening regularly in the UK right now. And sorry, one more thing. I know you want to talk. No. One more thing. There is talk of the government of Keir Starmer banning certain UK flags from public display. Yeah. If that happens, we are going to see that symbol as a flag in some of the biggest marches that the UK has ever seen, and they will literally within weeks, if Keir Starmer does that, within weeks, they will be the closest they've been to a civil war in 400 years.
Yeah. I just... We're talking about children getting raped, it's just... Yeah.
And not just that, children getting raped and assaulted and abused, and the government actively covering for the gangs that are guilty of that abuse.
I'm going to choose my words. Let me just think this through. For every little girl that was raped and that was ignored and it was covered up because the colour of the skin of the person who did it. We need to get to a point where there is a level of consequence that's so egregious that you're never willing to cross that threshold.
Oh, yeah.
Now, I know you and I differ on this, and I'm not going to bring up NIAB because I know you think I am. I think we need to go harder because in their home countries, the punishments are brutal.
Yeah.
And we would argue as Westerners, we're above that. We're more civilised. We have processes. I don't think you can talk or rehabilitate people who participate in that.
No.
I really don't.
No.
And I will happily go on the record and say that if you get to a point where you have raped a young child, you should be castrated. I don't care anymore.
Yeah.
Because there should be no conceivable way that you could even try and commit it again because you can't.
Yep.
People are going to go, you can't do that, it's barbaric. Well, no, I'd argue that the rape of the child was barbaric and you having any kind of sympathy for someone who can commit a crime like that, not just once but repeatedly to a point where rape gangs are now a problem. The deterrent needs to be so heinous, so disgusting that you're not even tempted to do it.
See, I agree with you. I agree with you wholeheartedly. Once they've been actually properly found guilty, right? And this is not like a Brittany Higgins, Bruce Lerman kind of he said, she said, what really happened. No. Clear-cut, violent rape, especially of a minor. I mean, in that case, for sure. But I would say violent rape, castration.
Yeah.
I don't view that as a human rights violation.
Do you know, sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but I want to point this out. We've talked about this on the podcast so many times where we talk about how us today as modern humans are so different to humans who existed prior to us. And, you know, whether you're looking back at the Roman period when they had gladiators, or you're looking back at medieval times, or, you know, when the Ottoman Empire was a thing, or at the turn of the 19th century, humans have always been a violent species. That's inherent in us. It's like, so who we are today in 2025 is no different to who we were before Christ walked this earth.
Yep.
You know, we have people who have principles and values and virtues, and we have people who will be criminals and defy that, and people who are just pieces of shit. You know, I don't know why we think that because we're modern humans, we're any different to those in the past. But look at how those crimes were historically treated. You know, even adultery and things like that. There were horrible punishments because they were acted as a deterrent. I'm not saying that we should be horrible to people, but what I'm saying is there needs to be a consequence.
Once someone is found guilty of a crime, then they can be punished. That's not a human rights violation to punish somebody once they've been found guilty of a serious crime.
But we know this. We have examples of this where there is sweeping reform and it immediately cleans people up. Like, I'm not going to keep talking about El Salvador, but we know it's possible and it's been done plenty of times. But
are you aware of the time?
Yes.
You've got somewhere to be.
We've got 10 minutes.
Okay.
So we'll finish on this one. Imagine that, like, the criminal that's, the pedophile that was just named again in the childcare centres.
Yeah.
And not to bring this up again, but just to really drive home my point. Not only was he inappropriately touching children and filming them, he was ejaculating into their food. I'm sorry. Immediate
that's dog.
Castration.
Yeah.
Immediate. Yeah. And I don't believe in the death penalty for a couple of reasons, but castration, you can't use your dick again. You're fucked, literally.
Oh, well, we'll give it to you in a box.
Yeah, you can keep it. You can wear it around your neck as a reminder of what you did. And guess what? He ain't going to rape anyone, is he?
No, that's right. And this is the thing that I think some people get wrong. They assume that a libertarian is soft on crime. No, a libertarian is very firm on the rights of the arrested and accused. But once they're found guilty through a properly conducted due process, then punishment is appropriate for whatever the crime is. And yes, punishments sometimes need to be violent.
Yeah.
I'm not entirely opposed to the death penalty under any and every circumstance. I think in the US, they use it too often still. I think it has to be a particularly extreme circumstance. But I think what we've got at the moment is we have an amount of time in prison, and then in America and other countries with the death penalty, they have death.
Yeah.
It's like, well, no, there's a heap of other ways to punish people.
Yeah.
And if someone's a rapist, removing their ability to ever rape again.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Fine. I'm not necessarily in favour of cutting off of hands and cutting off of feet and that sort of thing, but public floggings, stocks, humiliation, having rotten fruit thrown at you and being jeered at and being publicly humiliated in that way. We've talked about the role of humiliation as an important social feedback. We've removed all of that out of the system and made it actually really quite comfortable oftentimes to be a prisoner. It's actually, it's quite comfortable.
Well, that's what I mean. And they get appeal after appeal after appeal. Like, even though there is the death penalty in the US, it's actually very hard to get a death penalty conviction, and then it's even harder to actually execute them. And I understand why. There's a lot of checks and balances there. But, you know, death penalty aside, like, Australia's never going to bring that back. No. Not in our lifetime. There's no way. But we should be pushing for severe punishment.
Yeah. But what the UK can do is turn around and say, right, we're going to actually start arresting and prosecuting people that are being accused of having been a part of this. And there's been inquiries now. The police know, right? A lot of the politicians know. They know who the core people are at the very least. So go around, sweep them off the streets, throw them into prison, and do not give them bail pending their trial.
Yeah.
Then anyone that is found guilty serves their time and then is deported. They're never coming back into the country. Then anyone else who wants to leave, the last thing you will ever do in England is accept the gift of a free one-way ticket back to where you came from. Right? And that's it. You're never getting a visa again. You're never coming back. If we ever find you having re-entered illegally, you're out. And at that point, all they're doing, the only people they're actively deporting are convicted criminals who lose the right to be there. Like you abrogate a lot of your human rights once you are a convicted criminal. And then helping people who actually say, yeah, okay, fine, I'll go.
Yeah.
Right? You do those two things. So you get tough on crime.
Yeah.
And you'd need to cut welfare too, but that's such a hard thing people aren't willing to accept. Cut welfare, get tough on crime, and then offer people an easy way out.
Yeah.
The trash will take itself out. The people you're left with are the migrants who aren't causing the trouble.
Yeah.
The ones who aren't doing these things. They're the ones that you'll get left with, who you want. They're the people that we want and we need. Very easy to fix, but it would require political courage.
Yeah.
Which, you know,
I don't see a lot of it in Australia.
No.
I see a lot of complaining about it, but I don't see a lot of that.
No.
But let's go for a palate cleanse, because that's a hard topic.
Heavy topic.
Neither you or I care about this, but it feels like the right palate cleanse.
Oh, goodness.
Taylor Swift's getting hitched. Good on her.
Good on her.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what. The are we going to get like an album all about the prenup negotiations?
Do you reckon they'll have a prenup? Both of them are pretty rich.
Yeah, they're both pretty.
She's richer than him.
I think that their prenup would basically be you leave with what you came with.
I think that's more than fair.
Yeah.
Do you know what? Actually, I will argue this. My best mate is a Swiftie.
Okay.
Sally is the most salt of the earth human, and she's so smart. Yeah, she's a Swiftie. It's very confusing.
This is very, very contradictory.
It's very, very contradictory. Yeah. And she messaged me this morning. She's like, I know you don't care, but you need to know. And I was like, oh, don't worry. I've already seen it because my entire social media feed is Taylor Swift this morning. But Taylor Swift is a feminist, right? And she's fairly woke. And he's the Pfizer poster boy.
Yeah.
What I like is that whether or not they're doing it deliberately or they've just fallen into what feels natural for them, he's the jock, he's the quarterback, and she's the princess, the pop princess, and they're getting hitched. What are all the feminists going to say?
Yeah.
Because she is doing the traditional thing.
Yeah.
And that is the American, or like the Americana playbook.
Yeah, she married the quarterback, You
know, and she sings about dating the football player.
Yeah.
And if they're genuinely in love and happy, great. I'm happy for you.
Yeah.
And I hope you punch out like 6 kids.
Yep.
But all the feminists are going to be like,
do you reckon she'll ever bake him some sourdough?
I hope she does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with that.
No.
Nothing wrong with that.
You know, she helped me churn the butter, so.
Well, there you go. I don't want to know what you get up to at night. All
anyway.
right. We need to finish. So we're not going to talk about the tragic news of the police being shot in Victoria in this episode because we've run out of time and we need to talk about it properly. Obviously, it's all over the news. We don't need to add to it with our opinions and hot takes and blah, blah, blah. We will talk about it on Monday.
Yes.
Yeah, let's bring it up on Monday. There'll be a lot more information.
I was going to say, at the moment, it's purely speculative. And also, after Monday, it will have been the protests.
Well, so those will probably be the big topics for Monday.
Because my concern, I'm not being conspiratorial, but at the same time, I don't know, man, like this is going to get ugly.
Yeah. Well,
I hope it doesn't.
Yeah, let's
I
hope it
hope
doesn't.
I'm wrong.
Let's hope everyone keeps a cool head. My hope is that because of the amount of scrutiny and because of how high the stakes suddenly feel, everyone will be on their best behaviour.
Yes, that's my warning.
But
guys,
unfortunately,
just be careful.
You're going to have Antifa antagonising. You could well have feds antagonising, and there are going to be some hotheads in there.
My point was, aside from the march and everyone getting upset with us, is that if something goes wrong, and again, I hope I'm wrong, but I have a feeling I might not be wrong in this case, watch how swiftly they move to change legislation and make it almost impossible moving forward. That is that is actually what's at stake. So, like it or not that Topher and I disagreed with the march, just keep that in the back of your mind. And I mean, yeah, I see people flip-flopping over it. The fact that you're flip-flopping should be sort of
should tell you
all you need to know.
Yeah. And look, like I said before, if you want to go. Just have your head on a swivel, be smart, know what you're going to do in the event that someone tries to some sort of a publicity stunt around you, and don't be the cause of any trouble. Just have a smile on your face, be the nicest version of yourself all day.
All right, so do you want to finish with, do you have the article? Here we go.
Iranian embassy, yes. Well, so this, honestly, credit where it's due. Credit to Anthony Albanese and the current Labor government. I have very little nice to say about them, but I think that this was a really good step from them. So credit where it's due. But also, do you remember, if I just cast my mind back into ancient history, about 2 weeks?
2 weeks ago.
Yeah. We were talking about the fact that a whole bunch of people, including current politicians, had marched under a sign of the Ayatollah of Iran.
And the Taliban flags.
Well, the Ayatollah of Iran was the one that I picked out and said, yeah, that's probably not going to age very well. I thought it was going to take a year or two for it to age badly. Turns out 2 weeks later,
like milk.
2 weeks later, it has already aged very badly.
I will say, for a podcast that's only been running for 34 weeks, we have got a pretty good strike rate.
We've got a good strike rate.
Right about nearly everything so far.
Now, for those that are listening, sorry, I take it for granted that you can see because I do videos all day long. For those that are listening, we're talking about the expulsion of the Iranian ambassador from Australia. Was given 30 minutes notice on your bike, mate, because the Iranian government was found to have had a direct hand in planning and executing essentially terrorism, violence for the purpose of political outcomes, terrorist acts against the Jewish community here in Australia, on Australian soil. And so, yeah, we ejected the ambassador. And for those that marched across the Sydney Harbour Bridge under the banner of the Ayatollah of Iran, you might want to have a good look at yourself in the mirror and maybe punch yourself in the face while you're there.
And interestingly, the coalition is saying we called for his expulsion last year. I'm just reading the headlines very quickly. They were driven away last late night mission. I've got 7 minutes to talk about this. I feel so sorry for our Jewish community because they're under so much scrutiny, and all of this was being blamed at like inside Israel stuff, like to try and garner sympathy for Israel. And I hope all of you people who are sitting there questioning the Jews right now just realize how stupid you are, because everything is so simplistic. People fail to understand that lots of things can be true at once. That war is bad and there are horrible casualties to war, agree, but there can be nefarious other third parties who are using that war to push their own agendas. And all of the
sympathies and so forth,
And a lot of what you're seeing, like, this one gets my blood boiling. The New York Times publishing that photo of that malnourished boy.
The emaciated boy,
We've seen this done so many times in history, and yet people still fail to learn. Not to say that there aren't people suffering in Gaza. Of course there is
horrible suffering happening in Gaza, and I would love to see that end, but that doesn't end until Hamas are removed. And the latest example, not that we should need any more, Hamas actually execute Gazans who go and get aid from someone other than Hamas.
Yeah.
So people say, Israel's stopping all the aid from getting across the border, blah, blah. No, they're actually not. They're ready to take it in, but Red Cross or someone has to do that, because if the Israelis themselves do it, it's going to cause a bloodbath inside of Gaza. And so these aid agencies are refusing to take it in some cases because they get attacked by Hamas.
Yeah.
And then when people come to get it, they get shot dead in the street by Hamas. Are there issues on both sides? Yes, there are. Has the Israeli military done some things that are absolutely awful? Unfortunately, yes. We've had civilians getting killed by bombs and missiles. We've had misidentification of targets, and people who should not have been shot have been shot. That has happened. That is true. That doesn't mean that that Hamas are the good guys here.
No.
It's a horrific, tragic situation, and the sooner that Hamas can be removed, and let's not forget that actually a bunch of Middle Eastern countries got together and they all agreed that the way forward is for Hamas to be removed from Gaza. Right? I'm not doing some right-wing imperialist thing here. This is the opinion of actually many of the neighbouring Arabic Muslim majority countries.
Well, Saudi came out and said years ago the people you need to be fearful of are the fundamentalist Islamists.
Yeah.
The Saudis have been saying that. You know, and the more I look into it, you know, there's no good sides in war. There isn't. Like, yes, there is always casualties, and it sucks. It's ugly.
It doesn't mean that they're all equal, though.
No, it doesn't.
You know,
but
war is hell, and it's hell on both sides, and awful things that shouldn't happen on both sides. And if you want to stop your ears to the crimes of one side and only look at the crimes of the other, you can decide whichever side you want is the villain. That was
what my point was going to be. It's very easy, as a photographer saying this, to find that moment to tug on the heartstrings. And it really depends on it's less about what you include in the photo and what you exclude.
Yeah.
And that's what pisses me off.
Yeah.
Because a lot of that is, there's a baby that's got blood all over it. Great photo. And you don't know why. And yeah, it's ugly. The reality of war is ugly. But I'm so mad that we are using those photos as fodder to try and garner sympathy for people who are actual terrorists.
And the mainstream media have been responsible for so much misinformation. Where are the 14,000 starving? You know, what happened to that? They were days away from starvation.
Well, CNN actually put up an article saying that Gaza was an open-air prison in dystopian, disgusting open-air prison a couple of years ago. And now they were saying prior to October 7th, it was a bustling place full of vibrancy and culture. Yeah. So which one is it, CNN? Yeah.
And let's not forget that Gaza has borders with countries other than Israel, and they're keeping their borders closed too with good reason.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there's a lot more going on here. But in terms of Australia and Iran, because I don't think we should have a dog in the fight of a fight that's happening on the other side of the planet. That's true for Ukraine. That's true for this conflict between Israel and Hamas. But in terms of what's happening here in Australia, to discover that a foreign government has been orchestrating a terror campaign against a racial group within your own borders requires a very, very firm response. And credit where it's due. I think that Anthony Albanese got this one right. He very quickly expelled the Iranian ambassador.
Yep.
And I think that was the right thing to do.
Well, I feel like we didn't give people context. We just kind of went straight into our talk. But just so you guys know, this is the latest article from the Australian, and they're saying that Iran has hired bikies and criminals to carry out these terror attacks or these firebombings.
There was a firebombing, a couple of firebombings. I think it was a synagogue and a kosher butcher, I think it was the other main victim.
So essentially, I'll just read this. Illicit tobacco kingpins, bikies and criminals for hire are accused of being used as agents of Iran to strike fear into the Australian Jewish community and destroy social cohesion. Iran was behind the firebombing of Melbourne's Israel synagogue in December and the Sydney Lewis Continental Kitchen attack in October. And this is found out by ASIO. So, yeah.
Literally bringing in money to pay Australian criminals to carry out racially motivated attacks for the purpose of terror.
And the thing about the Australian criminals, I bring up my comment before, is that the Australian culture we're so proud of and trying to protect? That our Australian criminal sector is for hire by Iran?
Yeah.
So we want to protect that? Wow, that's something to be proud of.
Well, you remember the bomb hoax, the caravan with the bomb in it up around Sydney? And then we found out that actually the politicians and the police already knew that was actually a hoax before they used it as the pretext to ram through new laws in New South Wales.
Yeah.
So literally, ASIO knowingly and our government knowingly using what I don't know if the caravan specifically was one of the Iran-funded attacks, but it was coming from the same broad group of people, a hoax non-attack as a pretext to ram through more freedom-restricting laws in Australia. Essentially, now we have revealed at the behest of Iran. Yay. Yay for us. Aren't we clever?
Yeah.
Yeah. Welcome to Australia, everybody.
Can we just finish the podcast not
not depressed?
Yeah, I was going to say not wanting to neck ourselves.
We would have to talk about somewhere other than Australia.
Yeah.
It's like that's, yeah, that was fun. I'm going to have more sourdough before I drive home.
Can I have some?
No.
Oh.
No, you gave that to me.
I did, yeah.
It's mine.
I've been smelling the whole podcast.
I don't want the butter too.
Yeah. No. Okay, fine. I'll make some more.
Get back in the kitchen.
Yeah, I gotta go. I gotta literally run in like 2 seconds.
Yes, you need to go. All right, everybody, thanks for listening.
Buy a hoodie, buy a t-shirt.
Yeah, goodpeoplebreakbadlaws.com.
Thank you so much for your support.
Buy stuff. Thank you for your support. Tune in on Monday nights.
Yeah, Monday night will be interesting because we don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, well, there's a lot to talk about then.
All right, guys.
All right, bye.
Bye.